knock. And don't knock so loudly, either.
Did I knock too loudly for your sensitive, pearly ears? You've heard nothing yet.
Behave, slave. We rule this wave. Of you we are unafraid.
We pay your wages. Put down the tray and come here.
The Autonomous Murder Complex by Frederick Bradnam, with Robin Ellis as Harry Meadows.
Ravages are my wages. Oh, look, I've broken my wages. As I'll break you both. You've let the genius out of the bottle. Silly cows. You don't know what you're up against. Now, let me escort you from the room. To the bedroom. This way, please. Come along.
Thank you, slave.
No.
Down you go. Just a matter of a few floorboards missing, and down into the pit they go. And no one will know that I did it. No one.
That's the sort of thing. Terribly real at the time, Doctor.
You English are so bad with names, Mr. Meadows. Hilda Geertzahn. I think you should call me Hilda. And I call you Harry, yes?
Fair enough. Hilda and Harry. We should make the Palladium.
Ah, that is a joke, I see.
Not a very funny one. Sorry.
So you write them down. The dreams, not the jokes. Read me another.
All right. Do you think...
I think nothing yet. Read me another ugly man dream.
The chap, ugly man, was lurking behind a hedge or wall. As things do in dreams, it changed. The grounds were a bit like those at Rushforth Park, a place I know. The chap was watching a piece of land which he had trapped in some way, mined it or dug pits, and it was a fine day.
They should be arriving soon, galloping their horses. What a surprise they'll have. What a surprise. The inquest will ask, who did it? Who indeed? The enemy from over the border? The trusted gardener? The neighbors? I shall sit in the courtroom wearing black as the friend who mourns and laugh inside. Listen. Ah, here they come.
As usual, I woke up before anything happened. This ugly chap is all bull, all talk.
Yes, but his own sort of bull, as you call it. Tell me now of yourself, Harry.
I was wondering when you'd ask that. I thought psychoanalysts began with one's history.
Why should we? That's only relevant if you're a real case, something we wish to sink our teeth into.
Ah, yes, indeed.
So come and sit in the chair now. How old are you?
42.
And for a living?
Ah, up to 6 months ago, I was a soldier. Been so since I was 19.
A soldier? You surprised me. An officer?
Yes, since military academy. I'm a lieutenant colonel. I commanded an infantry battalion.
And now you have left the army. For what reason?
Good question. A number of reasons. I had had enough. Saw no point in serving anymore. It was very unlikely that I'd get promotion, so I'd have to take my bowler hat. as we say, in a year or so why not now? And my last tour of duty wasn't a success either.
Do you now do something else?
No, not yet. I haven't got round to it. I'm in a pickle. Truth is... God, this is awful. I want to cry.
Then cry.
It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't cry. It's like some blubbering schoolboy. The last time I cried was... Can't talk about it. So sorry, Makes you feel better, in fact. Like they say. Truth is, my life is a bloody nonsense. Fallen apart. It's hard to explain.
Your last tour of duty wasn't a success, you said. Can you tell me of this tour of duty?
Yes. What isn't covered by the Official Secrets Act. It was the battalion's second visit to Northern Ireland in 3 years. The first wasn't too bad. This second go was a sheer catastrophe. I lost 10 chaps in one ambush. 2 weeks later, another 4 on the street in a week. Then my second-in-command and 3 of my best NCOs in one armored truck were blown sky high. All this in 3 months. So we were pulled out. I was moved to a staff job at NATO, relieved of my command, in fact. So I sent in my papers, and they were accepted. I sort of slunk out.
Were you yourself wounded or injured?
No, not a scratch.
Do you believe the catastrophe, as you call it, was your fault?
I don't know. I've chewed it over, God, have I not? Do you think there is such a thing as pure and simple bad luck?
Why not? I have come across it.
Pride must have a fall, right? I was proud. Vainly proud? Not proud enough, perhaps. Had I set things in motion in such a way that they'd turn against me? I can't see that I did. I can see that I'd lost my grip a bit, though. I had become a bit remote, I suppose. And a battalion commander can't be even slightly remote. At least not under the conditions of the Ulster War, he can't. Perhaps if I'd been more on the ball, I could have prevented some of the beastliness. I don't know, but because I wasn't spot on the ball, when the bad luck rolled in, it swept me away. Do I make sense?
A type of sense, yes.
I suppose it was because I was unburdening my dreams on you that I wanted to cry.
You did cry also. Why, I am not sure. But let us keep to your history and not sidetrack. My last tour of duty wasn't a success either. But to what does that either refer?
To the whole shooting match. Making a general nonsense of things. Personal failure.
Are you married, Harry?
And there's that. I married 15 years ago. We divorced by mutual consent 5 years ago. We have a daughter of 13.
Do you see your daughter?
Now and again, by kind permission of her mother.
And her? Your ex-wife, do you still see her?
Oh, yes. In a way, we're quite good pals. She considers me a bit of a joke, has for a long time. I married above my station, as we used to say. I suppose that makes her feel superior.
Do you mean that she is of a higher class than you?
You know what class is in England. I came from the lower middle. My dad was a local council clerk. I married Lady Monica Grant, the daughter of an earl. So it was Captain Meadows and Lady Monica, who happens to be Mrs. Meadows.
Well, tell me something of your marriage.
God knows why I ever thought it could have worked. I don't think Monica believes it ever would. She's a very, how can I put it, physical, passionate, strongly sexed lady. And she had a sexual crush on me. So did I on her, only not so much. But you can't keep that sort of thing up forever. If you'll excuse the innuendo. I suppose we had a good run for our money.
Has she remarried?
Funnily enough, she hasn't. I don't know what she does for mail company. She lives at home, and there's no evidence of lovers there. Not when I visit, at least.
Does it worry you, the idea of lovers?
Good Lord, no. Although I am concerned for Patience, my daughter's feelings. Lovers all over Rushforth Park when she's there would not be a good thing, would it?
Oh, children suffer far worse it come through. Rushforth Park is a large house?
Very. A sort of castle. Monica's father is dead, her mother not. She really does despise me, always has. She's the Dowager Countess, and she lives at Rushforth along with the present Earl and his family. There's plenty of room. Monica and Mary, her mum, have a wing to themselves, self-contained.
And you visit this place still?
When Patience is on holiday. I have to. It's the only way I can get to see her. And even then it isn't plain sailing. The last time was a couple of months ago.
The Dowager Countess and Lady Monica will be down in a few minutes. They told me to say so.
Thanks, Atwell. How are things?
Fine, Colonel, thank you.
Still fitting in all right?
I hope so, sir.
Is Miss Patience about?
I don't know, sir.
You haven't seen her?
No, sir. I believe she's with the Bartons at Mallet, sir.
I see. Thanks, Atwell. Keep up the good work.
I'll do my best, sir.
Atwell isn't important, but you may as well know about him. He was the officer's mess sergeant of my outfit. Came out after 12 years. I recommended him to the Dowager Countess. He'd been at Rushforth for about 6 months as under butler. Good-looking chap. Thought rather too much of himself.
There you are, Harry. Wheel me to the window, will you, Monica?
Got a job yet, Harry?
Does it concern you, Monica?
Do sit down, Harry. You're not on parade, are you?
No, ex-mother-in-law. No longer.
No more parades, indeed. Or did you mean something more subtle?
Not me, Mary. You know me.
You should get a job, Harry. Can't be good for you. Just lounging around all day.
Doesn't seem to do many of your crowd much harm, does it?
And you never understood about them.
The roses need deadheading badly. I suppose you're wondering where Patience has got to.
As I came specifically to see her, yes.
Well, she should be back in about an hour. Didn't she say, Monica?
Well, that's what she hoped.
You did tell her I was coming.
Of course. She'd already made plans.
That means you told her last thing, the usual trick.
I can't imagine why you have this excessive disposition to filial affection, Harry. Do the middle classes always sport this behavior?
I don't know. I'm lower middle, remember? And for Christ's sake, don't lay it on so thick. I want to give the child some love. Someone has to, and I don't believe either of you know how. It's something you weren't brought up to know about. You can't show.
Don't be a bloody fool, Harry. Patience is perfectly happy, both here and at school.
She behaves as if she is, which is good behavior and no more.
The girl is a child.
13, Mary. They go on the pill at 13.
What they get up to in the lower depths is of no concern to us.
God, how I hate you, both of you.
Oh, must you? Let us preserve the decencies, please.
And you don't hate us. We don't hate each other in our world.
Shall I have tea served, milady?
Oh, yes, do, Atwell.
Have some tea with us, Harry. Patience will be back by 5:30, I'm sure.
Is it as bad as that?
I've given you the basics, but it is.
In Danish we say factor. Antics, playing games.
Yes, but their game is not my game, if I have a game.
It was of them I was speaking. They are the game-playing sort. You, Harry, I do not think you play games. You are a man without a private mask, I think.
Is that a compliment? Is it a good thing to be?
It is a compliment in a way. It is not a good thing to be, no.
So, why do I dream these awful dreams?
We shall try to find out.
If we find out, will it heal?
Ah, that is the mercy which we seek.
This frightful chap I dream, as if I am him and he is me, where does he come from? Who is he? Why does he take over like he does? Is he one side, the bad side?
You have heard of Carl Gustav Jung, yes?
The psychologist
The
chap.
psychologist chap. Let us go into the unconscious, Harry.
Like going into a minefield without a map, isn't it?
Good. True. But there are parts which have been mapped. Some twist and turn and are made by their own immanent rules, of which we know very little, although we do know of the parts.
Made by their own volition.
So it seems. Jung called these parts complexes. And these particular complexes, which seem to exist in isolation in the unconscious, he called autonomous complexes.
You mean while other complexes relate to each other, like paths that cross, these autonomous ones don't?
Roughly, yes. You see, all this that I tell you is only an approximation. Oh, there are books, many books. The complications are immense, so much so that I would rather you did not read any such books at present.
All right. I'll stick to Anthony Powell.
So these autonomous complexes throw up figures, images, in various ways. They can also invade the conscious personality and turn a person mad, or make him believe in his destiny so strongly that he becomes his destiny, but still often mad. He becomes possessed. It also, unfortunately, makes for persons to behave with great foolishness more often than not. A folie de grandeur sometimes. Politicians, for example, frequently suffer from this possession.
I've noticed.
Now, in literature, Raskolnikov's Crime and Punishment is a good example. Dostoevsky understood that Raskolnikov's belief that a man is not a whole man unless he can take the life of another without compunction is foolish and pathetic and mad.
I think I understand. Am I in danger of being invaded?
No. Your autonomous complex is more interesting, more rare. It has produced a shadow ego figure. A figure lurking deep, deep down among the rubbish of repressions, anxieties, hates and fears. A negative and dark figure. The secret side of your ego, but part of your whole personality. That which makes you a whole man. But why this shadow ego figure should appear with such clarity, such power, I don't know. It is what we must find out. Now, when did these dreams first begin, did you say?
No. 2 months ago, about. Immediately after I last visited Rushforth Park, actually. A short dream. The nasty chap was gloating about having sent everybody off in wrong directions. I think he was there, in Rushforth, in a small room.
Yes, he could use Rushforth as a plank, a springboard. Well, our next session is on Friday. You must make a note of your dreams, please.
I will. Tell me, could this figure...
Let us call him Horrible Harry. H.H. for short.
Spot on. Could Horrible Harry cause this Harry to do any harm?
It is unlikely, except to yourself. There are mass projections of this shadow figure. They produce religious bigotry, the treatment of other races as subhuman, inferior. Do you have such feelings consciously? Against the Irish, perhaps?
No, I rather like them. Of course, there is the Dowager Countess. Her sort.
She's an unlikely candidate. Oh, I'm tired now. I grow old, you know. Until our next meeting.
He's not here.
Look behind the wall.
Where could he have got to?
He's vanished into thin air.
He was only an old tramp.
I thought he was a clergyman.
He was a priest.
A cardinal.
He chased the little girls, whatever he was.
There. I have swept them away. They would not have found me in a month of Sundays. Fools. I am their shadow, creeping up on little girls. Or disguised, I am upright and clerical, the last man they'd imagine to harbor such lusts.
But I saw you. I should drown you. Take you and drown you.
I couldn't drown him, Hilda. Couldn't move to him. Why?
Self-preservation. You could have been in trouble if you had drowned him.
He's part of me, of course, I see that.
Yea, he may have taken you down with him. What do we know about him? Two things stand out, yes. He is very pleased with himself and he's very confident. Quite the opposite from you in both aspects, yes?
Too bloody true.
Burn. Burn. Monstrous regiment of women. What are your battalions now worth? This is the war of the sexes, the 7-day war. I've set fire to your hive, a blaze of barracks. And they'll wonder whom it was who struck the match. That paid them out, burnt them out, and paid them out. Serves them right. I'll teach them to ignore me.
What can we make of that, I wonder?
H.H. seems to have it in for the girls.
They are a regiment, a battalion, yes. Your soldiers? You resent the way the army treated you, but do you resent women in general?
Certainly not. Not in general. One thing, Hilda. When H.H. is up to his tricks, I'm there also, every time, watching him openly. He doesn't appear to see me, or if he does, he ignores me. Is there a drift of sorts there?
He's too conceited to acknowledge your presence. And, of course, you are no threat to him.
Fair enough. Of course, he's still not been seen actually doing anything, has he? Only claiming he's done things or waiting for them to happen.
I know. I wonder if he will do something, and if he does, why?
There's no way of seeing him.
Today, I am the invisible Hulk. The Black Death who will clutch at their throats until they are dead.
There's no protection from him.
I shall leave no trace of my revenge.
You will seek
The trail
us
of
out.
dead will be like those struck down by an unknown doom. Here we go.
Cloud.
You would not know, but Nietzsche had similar dreams.
He went mad, didn't he? Are you feeling all right, Hilda?
Tired. And I have some pain, but let us go on. Now, this is interesting. H.H. is a revenge symbol, yes? Against all the slights you've received, the small persecutions, the manner in which the army failed you, the treatment you receive at Rushforth Park, yes?
I suppose so.
But there is something more, which is exciting, yes. H.H. looks ahead to what is to happen often. Often as if he knows the future. He prophesizes. Yes, this is unusual. Oh.
Hilda? What's the matter?
Oh. The pain is different this time. Goodbye, Harry.
God. Hilda?
Someone! Quickly!
I thought it better to talk here, Colonel Meadows, not the consulting room, which may have seemed I was taking over from Hilda.
And you're not?
Well, that's up to you.
Poor Hilda. I feel...
Well, she hadn't been well for some time. She knew the warning signs, but she chose to ignore them.
I feel as if I've killed her.
A massive heart seizure killed her. She always said she would work until the end. She was 75.
Without her, I feel quite lost, you know. Dr.
Joanna White.
Sorry, Joanna White. I'll remember. This terrible chap I dream about. Horrible Harry, we called him. It's as if he's out to ruin everything and is successful.
I have read Hilda's notes.
Hilda's death was the last thing I thought would happen.
Yes, we analysts rarely go down dead in full flight.
She said there was such a thing as pure bad luck. I have it, and it killed her.
You're not a man who goes in for self-pity, usually, are you?
No. Nor did I go in for tears, but I cried like a schoolboy with her.
With me, you would be allowed a small ration of self-pity and a few tears. That is, if you wish to continue the analysis.
Sometime, yes. But not for the moment. I have to have a pause. Sorry.
No, I understand. But I'm sure you'll need to continue. So please, do go on writing your dreams down.
Yes, of course. It's becoming second nature.
Yes, it does. Have you friends to whom you can talk about Hilda's death?
No, not really. I kept my visits to myself. There is my ex-wife, of course. Better her than no one, I suppose.
I say, Daddy, you don't look at all well.
I'm all right, Patty. Had a bit of a shock the other day. It took the wind out of my sails.
That's the stuff, Aswell. Park me under the sycamore by Lady Monica. Ah, and now go and get some drinks.
Yes, my lady.
What sort of shock, Daddy?
Somebody died, suddenly, at my feet, as it were.
What's this, Harry?
I didn't think you were listening, Monica.
With half an ear? Who died?
A very nice elderly lady died when I was with her.
How terrible. Who was she, Daddy?
Did I hear you talking of her death, Harry?
You did, Mary, but of nobody known to you.
Well, do go on. Who was she?
A doctor from Denmark.
Unusual for you. Most unusual.
What the hell were you doing with elderly Danish lady doctors? Playing bridge? Holding tea parties?
Did you like her, Daddy?
Yes, very much, Patty.
How did it happen?
She had a heart attack, bad one. You see, she was a fine person.
You haven't answered Monica's question, Harry.
I know. I wonder what you'll make of it.
Make of what?
Harry, you're not cut out to be enigmatic.
She was a psychoanalyst, and I was consulting her.
Well. That's a turn up for the books.
And when she died, you were on her couch. I suppose she did have a couch.
Yes, and yes.
All our American girls have their analysts.
Your father is somewhat different, Patience.
Well, he could have problems.
Thank you, Patty.
Well, perhaps it would be best if we don't hear about them. But no. On the other hand, knowing you, Harry, it is tantalizing.
I have certain dreams.
Oh, defer, Harry. I thought, Jane, your American friend, very nice, Patty. Oh, thank you, Atwell. Well, put them down there. I'll look after things.
Thank you, Lady Monica. The soft drink for Miss Patience is ice cold, I'm afraid.
Never mind. It'll soon warm up this evening.
It will, miss. And I brought some Angostura bitters for the Colonel. Is that all, my lady?
Indeed it is, Atwell.
Thank you.
Is he proving satisfactory?
Atwell? Oh, yes. Very.
I can't stand him.
Too bad. Why did you ask?
I just feel responsible for him, that's all.
He has learnt his duties very quickly. So, you went to this lady from Denmark and told her your dreams.
That's about it.
It sounds as if they were too much for her.
Mummy, you can be so cruel.
Heartless more than cruel, Patty.
Oh, that's me. Certain dreams, Harry. Don't we all have certain dreams? Or do you mean they are of a sexual nature?
No, not that. Yes, we all have our own certain dreams, but surprisingly enough, there are types and patterns of dreams which are very common.
I bet you've never had a common dream, Grandmama.
Cheeky brat. I sometimes dream of being a girl again, riding horses, not stuck in this damn chair.
That is understandable. My dreams were disturbing.
Sort of nightmares, do you mean?
More real. They remain with me. They don't fade out, vanish.
Well, well. Fancy you, Harry.
As you said, a turn up for the books.
Were your dreams about leaving the army?
Of course they weren't, child.
You're right. How are you so sure?
Well, I don't think you felt guilty about leaving the army, Harry. A little bitter, maybe. But I think you were glad to get out, so why should you have disturbing dreams about it?
Fair enough. We were trying to discover what caused the dreams when Hilda died. It was complicated.
You'd better come out with it, Harry. What sort of dreams?
An autonomous complex.
My dear boy, what?
I'll tell you. An autonomous complex is a twisting of things in the deep unconscious, which in my case has thrown up a shadow ego figure. The dark, secret side of myself, actually. A very nasty, evil bloke who spends his time creating havoc, murdering people, and being pleased about it. He's known as Horrible Harry, after his brother.
Like Cain and Abel. Oh, poor Daddy.
Really horrible. It's like someone walking over one's grave.
It seems to me to make you a more interesting man than I thought you were in the past.
You would say that. I might have guessed.
I suppose you could be capable of murder, Harry, if roused.
It's not me who murders, Monica. I'm not the type. He is.
Well, we all of us have a dark side to us, don't we? Only it's very firmly sat upon, isn't it?
It is, Patty. Even in the unconscious. So, when it rears its ugly head in those depths, as powerfully as in my case, one has to find out why. Or else damage can be done.
Oh, damage? In what way, or to whom?
To the dreamer's personality. To my life, Mary.
What do you do now? No, now your analyst is dead.
If the dreams continue, then I go to another analyst and continue.
Well, that woman dying in the middle of things can't have helped.
It left me pretty numb. I felt it was my fault.
When was this, Daddy?
A week ago. Seems an age.
You'd better try to get over it, Harry. Go off and do something outrageous. That might quell your nasty friend.
I wish I could.
No, it's not in Harry's nature. Not outrage. Hence the dreams, I imagine. I wouldn't like to live with them.
They make you look over your shoulder.
Oh, what's that Will doing, taking the chairs in?
How on earth should I know?
Well, I thought you might.
Did you now?
Yes.
Anyway, thanks for your sympathy. I didn't expect it.
Why not? I'm not all that bloody. In fact, the whole thing gives me a cold spine for you. All I beg is, for God's sake, get it sorted out.
Well, you don't want to go dotty, do you? Not you, Harry. Some men do spend all their lives working at it, but no, you're not the sort.
I'll hang on to my sanity, Mary. Now, Patty was going to take me to see the new puppies. Shall we go?
Yes, lovely. Won't be long.
Where are they?
Oh, they're over in the stable.
They're very alike, those two. I wouldn't have expected it. And you must stop Atwell hanging around, Monica.
I know. He's becoming a bore. See? We haven't touched the drinks.
Let us remember the fallen. Remember this 94th of November, those who fell in 2 wars. Died for us, which was noble of them. Died so we might live in pieces. Let us remember them, the fallen.
Nonsense! Hypocrisy! Rubbish!
Get that man! Police! That Red! That disturber of the Queen's peace! We all know who he is, don't we?
Yes, we do!
The police are moving in on him. They will lock him up, or better still, send him back to where he came from, the lower depths, the dark house, the black shed, the bottom of the garden.
1, 2, 3, you won't catch me.
here she is. The Lady Mayor, representing her gracious mediocrity, attended by her daughter, who represents our Princess of the Month.
6 pages of posies in penthouse.
The Lady Mayor was herself wounded in the last war, while leading the last charge of the Lancers on the road to Mandalay. She will now lay the wreath to the fallen at the memorial to the gluttonous dead, pushed in her chair by her daughter. As they remain at the memorial in silence, a figure approaches. He walks with quiet deliberation, a tall, dignified man wearing a long black cloak. A foreign diplomat for sure. Now he goes over to the Lady Mayor, bends over her for a few words. Now he turns to her daughter, places his cloak around her in a grand gesture. What has happened? The Lady Mayor falls from her chair. The daughter slumps to the ground. There is blood everywhere. They are slain. They have fallen. They are the glorious dead. Who was the assassin? The man in the long black cloak? Where is he? The crowd surge up to the dead at the memorial. There is pandemonium, chaos, panic, and the assassin is nowhere to be seen. Who was he? Who was he who fulfilled our hopes and our desires, our dreams and our wishes?
Who said I never did anything? This is only a beginning. Wait and see, and they won't catch me.
There it is, Dr. White.
And it ended with that march.
Colonel Berge, yes. Daft, isn't it? And some of it is rather obvious, isn't it?
Like the assassin, it's cloaked with the obvious.
It was also pretty intricate. My regiment was once the 94th Foot.
So we have the 94th of November for the celebration of what is no longer part of your life.
And the dead?
The images and statements of dreams are often very stark. The past is dead, and so on. Also, you have no unconscious desires to kill your ex-wife and her mother, but you probably do have the unconscious desire to have nothing more to do with them. It would be best if they were also no longer part of your life, although that's impossible.
A really fresh start.
It could be that that's what horrible Harry is up to. Some things fall into place if you see it like that. To start afresh, you need to change, among other things. To change, you need to understand another side of yourself, cultivate it even.
Dr. White, may I call you Joanna?
Oh, please, I'd like that, Harry.
Joanna. Joanna, you're not suggesting I become at all like H.H.
Perish the thought. No, perhaps more ruthless than you are?
Ah.
Well, look at it like this. You grew up as a man in the army, with all that that implies. Part of a closed society, a world of its own, a club. Loyal to one another, so far as the rest of society was concerned. Loyal to Queen and country. H.H. also killed the Queen figure, didn't he? Now you're out on your own after 20 years or more. Out of the hive, the barracks, the security of the order of soldiery. Whether you know it or not, it's given your ego one hell of a wallop. So, to begin again, you must change, and the change must come from inside you, deep down, from the unconscious where H.H. lurks. If you don't change, you'll become a silly old buffer type, an anachronism out of your depth.
So H.H. has been killing the past.
Let's say it's a theory worth exploring.
One thing, though. H.H. didn't come into a dream until after I'd left the army for some 4 months. They actually started, as I told dear Hilda, shortly after a particular visit to Rushforth. The first for some time.
There's always a trigger, often quite a small thing, which stirs the complex. Rushforth Park is the past. It's only the present still because of your daughter, which makes it worse. You're tied to the place because of her, so you resent it. Not her. But because of her, you can't openly deal with your resentment.
That makes sense.
I know. That's what worries me about it. Anyway, we'll give it a twist next time. Oh, before you go, Harry, tell me, do you lead a very lonely life, day by day?
Good Lord, no. I live alone, as you know. No one girl. Not much in the way of girls anyway. My choice, that. Well, I don't feel lonely. I only feel rather free. For once, I have no responsibilities. I have a good few friends whom I see quite a bit of. Round the corner from my billet is a slightly disreputable drinking club. The sort of place I couldn't ever have belonged to before. Full of actors and actresses, gamblers, retired villains, some writers and composers, and a number of ladies without visible means of support.
Evening, Colonel. Had a good day?
All right, Alf. Took a lot of exercise, at least. Pardon my usual, please, Doris.
Be with you in a jiff, Colonel. She had flat feet and a fur coat. Was you have an agent with flat feet and a fur coat? Real mother figure. Evening, Harry.
Evening, Michael.
Oh, you be careful, Colonel. Exercise can be bad for the old ticker.
And what do you know about exercise, Alf, except some indoor activities without cards?
Cards? Bed, you mean, Diana?
I was trying to avoid the obvious.
With Alf, only the obvious counts. Thanks, Doris.
Thanks.
Anyway, I can't remember so far back. Years since I played cards.
Did any of you see that playlet on the beam last night? No. Well, who can I conduct a conversation about it with,
That isn't very good grammar, is it?
What do you expect? He writes things. I didn't see you yesterday.
No? Wasn't I here yesterday? Lunchtime, wasn't I? What did I do yesterday?
That's what exercise does for you. Gives you amnesia.
Do shut up, Alf. I thought you said you'd be here in the evening.
Is that the evening paper, Doris?
It is, but hand it back when you've read it.
Don't I always?
Did I, Diana? I don't remember. I went to dinner at some friends. Sorry. It was a long-standing invitation.
It didn't matter. Only that I got landed with that beautiful young man who once played the lead in a Ken Russell film.
He's heartbreaking.
After 2 hours, he's mind-blowing.
I'm sorry. I don't know what's the matter with me, but I'm becoming awfully forgetful. Absented from the mind. I suppose it's lack of responsibility doing it.
You need a job, Harry. When you're out of work, it goes like that.
So my ex-wife tells me. I mean that I need a job.
Here, Colonel. Don't you know a place called Rushforth Park?
I do, Al?
I thought you mentioned it at one time.
I could have done. Why?
There's been a murder there. Double murder.
What?
The Dowager Countess of Bradnam and her daughter, Lady Monica Grant, were found dead this morning at the home Rushforth Park near Maidstone. It is understood that they died of knife wounds. Police won't say no more at this juncture. Says...
Harry, do you know them?
Let me see it, Al.
All right, you are. Photos and all. Are they friends of yours?
Yes. Friends. I knew them. I knew them very well. If you'll excuse me, I must do some phoning, among other things.
I thought he was going over. If I'd known, I'd not have read it out.
Not your fault, Alf. I wonder what they are to him.
Dunno. But close. Very close. I bet my shirt on it.
I seem to recall that he... Excuse me, Alf. I think I'll make a phone call too.
House mistress. I wanted the head. No, you'll do. I'm Colonel Meadows, father of Patience. Yes, Patience Meadows.
Oh, how do you do? I don't think we've met.
No, you don't know me.
Oh, well, in that case, it could be anybody, couldn't you?
Yes, I could be anybody. Well, I quite understand. Lady Monica, well, that would be difficult. Look, will you listen to me, woman? Something has happened. Something has happened to Patience's mother and grandmother, the Dowager Countess. An accident, yes. Well, it's a bit more than unfortunate. They've been found murdered. Yes, murdered. Well, how the hell do I know who did it? All I want you or your headmistress to do is to tell Patience the news before she hears it accidentally. I know it's not a nice task, but it's what you're there for. Then get her to ring me. 01-246-8091. Thank you. Silly cow. Damn, who the hell's that? Where's my flaming revolver?
Can we have a word, Colonel Meadows?
Who the hell are you first?
My name's Thanet, and this is Judith Smart.
This is a bad time to call for whatever reason. What do you want with me anyway?
We'd rather not talk in the corridor.
Are you the police?
Oh, were you expecting the police, Colonel Meadows?
Perhaps. But you're not them. Tell me what you want of me, and I might let you in. And do put your hands on top of your heads.
What the hell?
Up, Thanet, if that's your name, and you, Smart.
Crikey, he's balmy.
Or not, he's got a revolver.
Now, come into the hall. I'd rather the neighbours didn't see.
Oh, God help us.
Say you were harmless. Got anything to identify yourselves by?
In my handbag, my NUJ card.
The tidiest handbag I've seen for a long time. So, you're reporters. Do put your hands down.
Oh.
Sorry about that, but you see, I did command a battalion for 2 tours of duty in Northern Ireland, not so long ago. Precautions, as they say, are worthwhile.
I thought my last hour had come.
You got here very fast, haven't you?
Oh, it was luck. Somebody phoned us.
Diana, I'll wring her neck. Which paper are you from?
The Sunday Citizen.
I never read it. Well, I don't think I can tell you anything. I've only just heard the news myself.
No, it isn't about the murder, Colonel Meadows. Our business is about the victims. What life was like at the where was it?
Oh, Rush Summing Park.
Yeah.
Rush forth, Mr. Thanet, which is what is likely to happen to you.
An inside story. We'd give you 3,000 for 3 columns.
I'm afraid you got the wrong man.
Look, we do it discreetly, Colonel. Shocked ex-husband, that sort of thing.
You
You
know that my sort doesn't do such things.
Well, they do, you know, if the money's right.
5,000, Colonel.
God, what a disgusting world you represent.
2 million readers every Sunday.
That is no excuse. I'll have no part of it. Good evening to you both.
Oh, come on, old lad. You're being self-righteous. Nothing else.
Out, Thanet. Smart out.
Come on, Thanet, leave it. I don't trust his temper anymore.
Look, the paper would go up to 10,000.
God help the self-righteous. Put the gun away. I actually felt capable of killing them. And what could I tell them? Who did murder them? Who in heaven's name? Hello? Patience. Patty, darling, have they told you? What? No, Patty. I'm afraid that's not quite true. Well, it wasn't an accident. The newspaper headline said murdered.
Murdered?
Yes, darling. Who did it? Well, nobody's been arrested yet.
I can't believe it.
I know. It'll take time to sink in. I don't feel it's quite true myself. Listen, darling, you may have reporters on the school doorstep. They've already been here.
Did you ask them?
No, somebody told them. Somebody could tell them about you. For money, my love. That's our world. Tell the headmistress.
Yeah, okay.
By the way, is your housemistress feeble-minded?
Yes.
She is, but not the head.
She's all right.
Good. Give it a few days, and I'll come down and collect you, and we'll go into hiding.
Oh, poor Mummy.
Yes, I know. Poor Mummy. Poor old Granny.
I think I'm going to cry.
Yes, go and have a good cry. Me too. I'll ring you.
You love me.
Of course I love you. Bless you. Police next. Try to find out. Where? Scotland Yard. Where else?
Colonel Meadows?
Yes.
I'm Inspector Oakes. Do sit down. They told me of your problem downstairs. How can I help?
Tell me more than I know. It's not just ghoulish interest.
Oh, I didn't imagine it was. Were you still in touch with your ex-wife?
Well, we have a daughter of 13, and to see her, I would visit Rushforth. So I remained in contact both with my ex and with her mother. I saw them only a few weeks ago.
Where is your daughter, sir?
Boarding school in the depths of the country. What can you tell me?
Well, the local folks are handling it, sir. They haven't asked us for our help. Probably they have a local suspect, or they may just be being possessive.
You mean I have to go there to find out?
Or they'll dig you out, sir.
Yes, I suppose they may.
I rang them a moment ago. They're being very cagey. Anything I tell you, they ask that you keep it to yourself.
I shall, never fear.
Well, they told me that the murders took place sometime after 23 hours yesterday. Lady Monica was found in her bedroom. The Dowager Countess outside in the corridor near the bedroom.
In her wheelchair? She was more or less crippled.
Was she? Well, they didn't say. They were both killed by one wound to the heart, the same on each body. It's a skillful job, it seems. They were found by the staff in the morning. Well, that's all, sir.
It's not much, is it? They don't say how the killer got in?
Not a word, sir. Well, perhaps he was already in, or was let in.
Yes, of course. Well, I'll give you my address, should anyone wish to see me. Thanks for your help, anyway.
Oh, not at all, sir. You have my sympathy. Things will take their course with this one, I think. It's the kind of case which leaves little to the imagination.
Do come in, Colonel Lorne.
Meadows. We've been expecting you, sir. Keeping the bodies warm.
Cold. In the west wing, laid out.
For inspection.
The other gentleman took the wheelchair, sir.
Raced in it down the corridor.
He's such a character.
Always up to some trick.
Come in, dear boy, come in. What a wonderful scene of carnage, eh? What went on in the kitchen, eh? Not an unbroken utensil to be seen. They didn't expect it, you know, but they deserved it. Richly. Barefaced, bearing hearts, and so on. They should have expected it, dear boy. The signs were all there. Of course, as we both know, signs have to be interpreted as best one can. Taken as omens. So there it is. And do take the knife with you. It is yours. You recall when they gave it to you, I'm sure. It's more of a short bayonet than a knife, isn't it? Well, I'm wheelchairing away. Cheerio.
This way, Colonel.
Do be careful how you tread, sir.
There are things in the corridor.
Cadavers.
Carrion.
Mortal remains.
Cold flesh.
And behind that door, sir.
A sad fate.
What is worse than death?
No, sir. Don't go in. Don't go in.
Not again, sir.
You will only live to regret it.
You have opened the door, sir.
So now you'll have to see what you did.
And that will make you scream, sir.
I woke screaming.
I wonder why the kitchens. It goes with the two servant figures, guardians of the dead.
The kitchen was the Rushforth one, but does it matter?
Everything matters, Harry.
I dream of two women, substitutes for my ex and her mother, being murdered by my shadow ego figure.
We unravelled that, more or less.
A few weeks later, the real women are murdered, stabbed to death.
As in the dream. It appears, Harry, that your shadow ego, old H.H., enjoys the gift of prophecy. There are such things as prophetic dreams, of course, but connected with an autonomous complex. Most rare, unheard of even.
I'll tell you how H.H. became a prophet. He took me over, got me to carry out the prophecy.
Got you?
I did the murders. I am the murderer. It stared me in the face since last night's dream. I became H.H. As H.H., I did the murders.
You're serious, I see. What is the hypothesis? For years you've harboured murderous feelings against your ex Monica and Mary, her mum. They despised you, looked down on you, sent you up, emasculated you. You took it on the chin like a man, but deep in your unconscious you indulged in fantasies of revenge. The two women seemed impregnable behind real castle walls. Also, their attitude to you believed, had undermined your self-confidence until you began to fail as a soldier. That was the nail in their coffin, for you loved the army before anything. What revenge is better than murder? Only murderers get found out, so horrible Harry came into being. He could do it and not be found out. The point is, But although you would kill as your duty as a soldier, you are not a murderer by natural inclination, and your coded behavior discounts such a thing. So you know about killing people, consciously, and unconsciously you know about the desire to murder. No wonder H.H. was produced.
I'm terrified, Joanna, frozen. Is it possible that I was possessed by my own shadow?
Just now you claimed that you were possessed. You now ask me if you could have been.
There's no logic about this. I have no memory of doing anything, but...
All right, yes, the unconscious can invade and possess the conscious. It accounts for some types of insanity.
Could this happen to me again?
If it did happen to you before, I suppose it could happen to you again.
In that last dream, H.H. was absolutely real and different. The come in, dear boy stuff, like an old pal. Before, we kept our distance, didn't we? What do I do next?
What can I tell you? However, you said that the murders were committed after 11 at night. What did you do that evening?
Oh, I've been into that. I went to dinner with some friends, Tim and Liz. She's pregnant, having a rough time. I left early, around 10. Plenty of time to drive to Rushforth by 11ish.
And you did that?
I don't remember doing so. I thought I'd driven home.
Have you found blood on your clothes or in the car?
I've looked, not a trace.
What about the car? Petrol? Mileage?
No idea. I didn't check at the time, of course. Joanna, what the hell do I do now?
Stop believing that you did the foul deeds. My theorizing is what it is. A fiction. You couldn't jump in and out of H.H.'s skin, as it were, without severely damaging your psyche. If you turned balmy that night, you'd still be balmy, and the last thing you'd do in that case would be to confess.
Then my dream of the murders was coincidence.
I think it was prophetic. How or why, I don't know yet.
Prophetic. That goes well with possession, doesn't it?
I don't know. If you still think you're guilty, what are you going to do about your guilt?
I shall go to the police at Rushforth. I'll find out what they think, then I'll make a statement. I must know the truth. How can I take patients on until I know the truth? And if the police agree, if you see what I mean, that I was the murderer, mad or not, the sooner the world knows about it, the better. And Patty can be looked after by others.
I've tried to tell you the truth, Harry. All right, find it out in your own way, if you must.
Afternoon, Davies.
Afternoon, sir.
Busy boys, are we?
There's a military bird waiting in the drawing room. I thought you'd better see him, sir. His family.
Oh, yes.
Colonel Harry Meadows, ex-husband.
Oh, yes, I know a lot about Colonel Meadows. So he's turned up, has he?
Shall I get him in, sir?
No, I'll use the drawing room for our chat. Since we got a place like this as HQ, why not use its charming facilities? What's he like?
Big and tough. Typical regular army officer in my book. Except he seems sort of dreamy, half with us.
Does he? Interesting. Right. Oh, see we get some tea in about half an hour, will you?
Bring it myself, sir.
Great. Colonel Meadows?
Yes, that's me.
Good. I'm Detective Superintendent Miller. My detective sergeant told you that I'm in charge of things, I believe?
Yes, he did.
May I offer you my sympathy, Colonel?
Oh, yes, thanks.
I'm glad you've called. I'm sure that a chat will be useful.
Yes. Can we sit down?
Why not? Lovely room, this, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, I suppose it is.
I'm told that nobody was allowed to smoke in it.
No, it was a house rule. The fabrics hold the smell.
Oh, so that's it, is it? I wondered why. Although today, of course, smoking is becoming an antisocial activity in the eyes of many.
Yes. I puff at a pipe on occasions.
Some must say I enjoy a cigar now and again.
Yes, I'll smoke a cigar, if offered.
Is your daughter remaining at school, Colonel?
Patience? Yes, but I'll take her off soon. Was hoping to.
Your little friends will rally round her there, I'm sure.
She rings me. She's all right.
Well, that's one thing.
I thought you'd asked to see me.
I was getting round to it, sir. There's been a lot to do, though.
Yes, of course. Is anybody helping you with your inquiries?
Not yet. They will be soon. I'm fairly confident of that, sir.
Yes. It's very difficult to get away with murder, isn't it?
With this sort of murder, yes. The random sort, the Yorkshire Ripper variety, that's another matter.
Well, that sort of chap is mad, though, isn't he? I mean, not clinically, perhaps, but not rational, not normal.
I'll leave that to the head shrinkers, sir.
It's a good nickname, head shrinker. They reduce the swollen-headed ego to its right size.
Oh, I don't know much about it, Colonel. Tell me, sir, did you know the staff here?
Well, by sight and name, that was all. Except for Atwell, who was once with my battalion.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Do you know why they were murdered, Mr.
Miller, Colonel Meadows? I think I do, but I have to verify one or two things before I can be sure.
Were they being robbed?
You mean, did they surprise a person in the process of committing a robbery? Do you, sir?
Yes, something of the sort.
No, a robbery wasn't the motive.
No, I didn't think. I don't know what your ideas about a motive are, but I have my own idea.
Do you, sir? Of course, you knew both women well, and one was your ex-wife. I wish I'd known them well.
Somebody was taking their revenge, is my theory.
In a way, that's my theory also, sir.
Probably we have the same chap in mind.
Yes, quite likely.
Both women knew him well, that goes without saying.
True. As far as it goes.
What do you mean by that?
Well, my chap wasn't the sort of chap the victims would ever know really well. The class barrier would get in the way.
Yes, I think that's true. My chap didn't ever take to that, felt he was being looked down on, that sort of thing.
Of course. But the younger woman was rather, how can I put it, dominated by him, I suspect. Sexual matters.
Once, yes. But that had grown cold on both sides.
Had it, sir? That's something I hadn't reckoned with.
Well, I should have thought it was obvious. No, there was something else, something different. My chap was sure both women had messed up his life. It drove him balmy, eventually.
So, you reckon that your chap was round the twist when he did the murders?
Like a man possessed. In fact, he was a man possessed. And I'll tell you something else about him. A couple of weeks before the murders, he dreamed of murdering two women, a queen and a princess. He dreamt that he, or at least a brother of himself, stabbed the two women to death.
Tea has ordered, Governor. The staff has the afternoon off.
I'll do the pouring. First time I've seen a large DS mincing around with a silver tray.
We always chose small other ranks as mess waiters. They did less harm to the furniture.
Haven't touched a thing, sir. Will that be all, gentlemen?
Oh, yes, thanks, Davis, yes. Right, Colonel Meadows. Let's pour you a cup. How do you know about the dreams? A cake. They're homemade and very good. But you know that, of course. I'm on a diet, but I'll have a cake. Your chap told you of the dream, I suppose?
He spoke of it, yes. It was a worrying dream. He had to speak of it.
Delicious, this cake. Tell me more about your chap.
I'm not entirely au fait with the way, the tactics my chap employed to carry out the object of the exercise. He drove down from London, right enough, that evening, got here about 11:30. Probably the servants were in bed, certainly off duty. But Atwell opened the door to my chap, nevertheless, and let him in, as he would.
As he would?
Atwell knew my chap, and my chap held rank over Atwell.
Oh, did he? Go on, Colonel.
Well, once inside, my chap sent Atwell packing. He heard the old countess pushing herself around in her wheelchair upstairs and wondering who it was arriving so late. My chap went up the stairs, slipped into the alcove, the one with that Gainsborough of the grounds in it, and waited for the wheelchair to come past him on its way to Lady Monica's room. When it did, he got behind it and stabbed the countess just once, as he'd been trained to do. She died with no more than an intake of breath. Her daughter was probably in bed. She heard her mother wheelchairing around, so got up and opened her bedroom door and was confronted by my chap a short bayonet in his hand, and her mother slumped in the chair. He killed her before she could cry out, again with one stab to the heart, caught her so she didn't crash down, and laid her on the bed. After that, he went to her bathroom, washed up a bit. There was only a little blood on his hands. Cleaned the bayonet, and giving himself time, making sure the house was quiet, let himself out and drove back to London.
You drink your tea, sir? I want another cup.
Yes, right away.
Do you expect me to arrest you on that statement, sir?
I can't see why not. It's a perfectly good confession.
You said your chap was eventually driven balmy. Are you telling me that you're off your rocker?
Not now. At the time, yes. I was possessed by my shadow ego figure. The one I had dreams about. An autonomous complex we christened Horrible Harry, as he is my ugly half.
God save the Queen. You said we've christened?
The psychoanalyst I go to.
Have you told him this story?
It's a her. Yes.
And what did she say?
She said it was a good theory, but it couldn't have happened.
If you were possessed when you did it, how do you remember what you did now?
I don't. Not a thing. I'm only sure that that's the way it would have happened, did happen.
You're telling me a fiction then, sir. I can't arrest on a fiction. We've not got an iota of evidence against you.
Well, Atwell must have let me in.
We'll ask him that, sir. Of course, you could have done it, I grant you, but there's my own chap to consider first.
I thought your chap was me.
And I thought your chap was my chap. I need to investigate my chap first, sir. Give me a day or so, and I'll get round to your claim. Go back to London, stay there, and I'll be in touch.
All right. This isn't exactly how I visualize things. Never mind. I see your point. Don't keep me hanging around too long, though, will you? There is my daughter to consider.
Yes. Yes, there is. I'll do my best, sir. I don't want these squidgy ones.
Is he a nutter, Governor?
How the hell do I know? I didn't ask him for the name of his witch doctor, it reminds me. Not to worry for the moment.
He left it on the way out, wrote it down.
It doesn't leave things undone, doesn't Colonel Meadows? The odd thing is, Davis, he could have done it. What evidence do we have to the contrary?
Atwell, sir.
We shall see. Meadows' story's good. It's wrong on some details, but it's good. Is it an invention, and doesn't he remember?
If it's not an invention, sir, but he does remember, even though he says he doesn't, why get the details wrong?
As an insurance, perhaps. He wants us to think he was balmy, anything. But he obviously thoroughly disliked his ex and her mum. Probably they treated him like dirt. Proud man, true. So, he could have gone round a twist, and he would know how to use the bayonet efficiently. And the women know him. So even late at night on the unexpected call, they wouldn't fear him, wouldn't be on their guard.
Unless what, sir?
We must find out if anybody overheard threats, or was there ever any violence? Yes, did Colonel Harry ever give Lady Monica a belting or tip up the old lady's wheelchair? I doubt it, but we better give it a whirl.
And that well, sir?
I'll tackle him. When he arrives, have no fear. And I've told Meadows to stay in London. We better ask the Yard to keep an eye on him, you never know.
Oh, Colonel Meadows.
Evening, Mrs. Taylor.
I don't like to appear inquisitive, but there's been a young lady, well, girl really, ringing your bell.
When was this?
Since about 6, an hour or so ago anyway.
Well, I think I know who it is. Thank you, Mrs. Taylor.
Not at all. I thought I should say. Oh, why, Colonel, there she is. Daddy, Daddy.
Patience. Patty.
I tried to phone you.
I've been out all day. What's happened?
Oh, they let me come away. School. Miss Standish thought it best.
Trouble?
No, just that, well, nobody could talk of anything else.
Being the centre of attraction has its disadvantages. I've been nowhere until today.
It was jolly ghoulish.
Oh, you must be exhausted. Come on. And hungry.
I am, a bit. What a nice flat it is, Daddy.
Of course, you've never been here, have you?
Wasn't allowed. I always planned to sneak away and come here.
All hell would have been let loose.
Oh, poor old Mummy. Poor really old Grandmama. Do you believe it all, Daddy?
That they are dead?
Yes. I still can't properly understand that it's for real.
Oh, I've got that far all right. But I've had more experience of sudden death than you, not surprisingly.
I couldn't stop crying. Thinking, the other night, how they might have felt, what they did. Stupid thing.
I know. But there is no knowing, Patty. I don't think we should talk about it tonight. Not yet. Let time heal. It does.
Yes, Pax until you say. It's funny.
What is?
Well, I mean, most girls at Blade see their fathers much more than I ever saw you.
Well, I should hope so.
But, well, I wonder if as many get on as well as we do.
Some do, some not. I think we're rather alike, and that's quite a help. We don't have to be on parade all the time.
Not like at Rushforth most of the time. Oh. Daddy?
Mm-hmm.
When all this is settled, I'll be able to be with you, won't I?
That's a point. All things being equal, yes.
Oh, equal? Well, why shouldn't they be?
Oh, sorry, darling, I was putting it clumsily. I was thinking of the Bradenhams, that great horde.
But you come before them, Daddy.
Of course, yes, I know.
Grandmama wasn't a bad old sort, and she was very brave. All that pain and not a word. But the rest of them, not Mummy, but the others, they're awful, Daddy. They're bullies and they're very stupid.
Yes, I know. I'll take you on, and anyway, they wouldn't want you, I bet.
I give them absolute hell.
You know, I think you would.
Oh, dear, I've suddenly gone tired.
Then you'd better suddenly go to bed, or suddenly better go to bed. Good morning. Or rather afternoon.
Oh, dear, what time is it?
Thought I'd let you sleep in. The clock is correct.
Oh, I did just that, didn't I? It's nearly 12.
You needed the sleep, obviously. You want an egg?
Please, I'm hungry again.
Growing girl.
Did you sleep well, Daddy?
Yes, funnily enough, very.
You mean no nasty man dreams?
You know about them, of course. I'd forgotten you did. No, I think old Horrible has been banished. I had rather a decent dream, actually.
Maisie Hitchin at school has the most extraordinarily erotic dreams, according to her. My efforts at any sort of dream are pretty feeble, although I did dream of Mummy the other night as if nothing had happened. When I was at Rushforth, I often had fairly unpleasant dreams around Atwell.
Atwell?
Yeah.
Well, I better get that. Watch the egg.
How much on the timer? Oh, under a minute. Cornflakes, I think. Daddy does keep everything neat and tidy. Like a good soldier should. He should have a girlfriend. Oh, hello. You're the detective.
Detective Superintendent Miller, Miss Meadows.
Where did you meet, for heaven's sake?
Oh, Mr. Miller came down to the school and grilled me. Oh, my egg's done. Do you mind if I eat a late breakfast while you're here, Mr. Miller?
Of course not. And I never grilled you. You grilled me, more to the truth.
Well, I wanted to know things.
Didn't you, half? Still, you were very useful. Eyes and ears like a lynx the girl has.
Hear that, Daddy? Oh, sorry, I'm being much too flippant. I don't really feel flippant. Oh, dear, it's hard-boiled. Never mind. Have you arrested anybody yet, Mr. Miller?
Yes, I have, Miss Meadows.
Good. I bet I know whom it is.
Yes, you well might.
For God's sake, Miller, get it over and done with.
Daddy? What?
For some odd reason, Miss Meadows, your father thinks that I've come to arrest him.
Arrest? Oh, Daddy, why? You couldn't.
He thought he could and he had, believe it or not.
You see, Paddy, I had a dream, a number of dreams. One of them was of a double murder, before the murders.
Oh, darling, is that all? You and your old dreams. Did you think you were balmy or something?
More or less, yes.
Oh, Daddy. So, who have you arrested, Mr. Miller?
What was your guess, Miss Meadows?
It wasn't a guess, it was a surmise. Atwell.
That's him.
Atwell?
We brought him back and charged him last night. Your egg's getting cold, miss.
No, I don't mind cold-boiled eggs, actually.
It surprises you, doesn't it, sir?
Yes, but more than surprised. You're sure about it?
Oh, yes. Yes, I was from the beginning. Although you did throw a small spanner in the works. He was missing when the murders came to light and, well, there were other things.
Why did he do such a thing, if he did?
He's made a long statement, sir. He felt he was ill-used.
I know a lot about it, Daddy. I couldn't say, not them.
Your daughter will enlighten you, sir. Now, I must be gone. I only dropped in to put your mind at rest. Look after him, Miss Meadows. Good luck, sir. I'll see myself out.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Well, Patty? Tell.
Oh, it was pretty ghastly. I can't think what came over Mummy. I mean, I knew she was sexy and all that, but to carry on with the under-butler was just a bad joke.
She was having an affair with Atwell?
Afraid so, Daddy.
How did you find out?
Well, I sort of sensed it at first. Then I kept my eyes and ears open, and then I came across him in the greenhouse.
Bloody silly woman. Sorry.
Didn't you ever notice anything?
I was hardly ever there. Once I thought he was hanging about the room for too long, that's all.
Mummy was infatuated with him for a while. When he came into the room, you could tell. Of course, he was smart. Cock a hoop.
He had a reputation with the ladies when he was with the regiment. What about Grandma Mary?
Oh, she knew all right. I'm sure she must have. She used to smile as if she thought it amusing.
So long as Atwell wasn't asking to sit down as one of the family.
And that's it. I think he wanted to be family.
Foolish lad. Marriage?
Well, I overheard Mummy and him rhyme once, last time I was home. She said, I'd be more likely to marry back the something nurseryman than you oaf. I think she'd gone off him by then.
It was difficult to get rid of, I'm sure.
Oh, that last time I was home was awful. Terrible. That will always seem to be lurking around. In the corridor, on the stairs, just outside the door. Even in the grounds, he'd be on the other side of the wall, behind the corner of the rose arbour.
That sounds remarkably like the way my dream chap used to behave.
How extraordinary. Were you dreaming, Atwell?
I must find out. And Grandmama?
Oh, something I overheard. I think she was going to sack him.
So he lost his head.
It's as if Mummy and Grandma were tempting fate without knowing that they were, isn't it?
Victims are made, not born.
You don't believe that you did it, do you? Not anymore.
No, not anymore. In the cold light of day, it all seems splendiferously crazy, Patty love. But at the time, those dreams were so real, so absolutely powerful, that I lived in their light. And they were telling me something so obvious, I couldn't see for looking. So, now for poor Joanna. She had better know the facts, and you had better come with me to tell her.
Okay.
By hindsight, it's all reasonable and logical. But how on the wrong track I was.
Why did I take Atwell to my unconscious heartland, Joanna?
Probably because you were responsible for him.
Was I?
Grandma used to say he was your creature, Daddy, when it suited her.
Oh, I recommended him for the job, yes. It's true. I did feel responsible in the sense that I hoped he was satisfactory, only that.
Consciously, yes. But your unconscious is a very deep and very active lake, Harry. It must have grasped that you had created a potentially dangerous situation. I suppose H.H. grew out of the guilt of that knowledge as much as anything.
Well, I certainly put the enemy in position without knowing what the hell I was doing.
Then I believe that your training as an infantry officer set up alarms in the unconscious. The years of training worked. You sense danger as a soldier does when others don't.
I must say, Daddy's unconscious seems jolly clever and jolly devious.
And his conscious, jolly stupid and jolly simple.
So, Daddy wasn't just dreaming at her.
Autonomous complexes are fragmentary personalities. The kind of creatures a writer plucks from his experience. Perhaps a person only seen for a moment, and then has to make real by his imagination. The complexes are made real by the unconscious, autonomously.
I see that. Patty said that Monica and her mother were perhaps tempting fate, making themselves victims.
You said that last.
I know. But my God, how I helped them. I put an ambitious, callous womanizer into a community of 2 or 3 women just like that.
In the normal course of events, that wouldn't have been much of a problem.
I should have thought of Monica's vulnerability, the sexual thing.
Why didn't Grandmama stop her, do you think? She could have, but honestly, she seemed only amused.
This sounds priggish, probably, but it's true. Sometimes the people of your grandmama's world will accept almost anything to alleviate the boredom of their lives.
Yes. She once told me she was bored beyond belief.
So, Harry, I think your ugly man was created by a form of guilt. He was made to show how the combination of Atwell and the 2 women was a disaster area. Hence the prophetic dream of murder. A stark warning that we interpreted wrongly. Jung said we ignore the unconscious at our peril. I'd add to that we misinterpret its meaning at our peril also. On the other hand, could we have stopped anything?
Perhaps if Daddy had known what was going on at Rushforth, then...
Would Monica have listened to me? Not on your life. Or her own life.
If Hilda hadn't died so inconveniently. She was on the right track from her notes, I'm sure. So many ifs, as always.
It's like it was all destined. I mean, fate, which Daddy's dreams saw beforehand, but couldn't stop.
No, you're so right, young lady, so right.
Atwell must have hated them, you know. They could be ghastly cruel, totally heartless, without an ounce of compassion. His sort of chap would not be capable of taking much of their treatment without striking back. I don't only feel guilt for the victims, but also for their murderer.
Please, Daddy, that's no good. It won't help.
I know, Patty. But I have to acknowledge it to get over it, which I shall, with your help. I've taken a bit of a bashing, haven't I? Well, you can laugh. I'm a different chap to what I was 6 months ago. I can see my late self quite clearly, you know.
As a new man, Harry, you have somewhere to begin from, and somewhere to go.
And what about that overactive unconscious, Dr. White? Do we still have to put up with that?
I better start looking for a job. That's a joke today, isn't it?
Afraid so, Patience. The overactive unconscious is all part of your father's makeup.
Tell me, can children inherit a father's unconscious, plus a couple of his complexes and a few of his nasty dreams?
In The Autonomous Murder Complex by Frederick Bradnam, the part of Harry Meadows was played by Robin Ellis, Joanna White by Bridget Turner, and Hilda Gertsand by Catherine Wilmer. Atwell, William Nye, Lady Monica, Frances Jeter, the Dowager Countess, Pauline Letts, and Patience by Tamsin Collison. Detective Superintendent Miller, Hugh Dixon, Detective Sergeant Davis, Alan Dudley, Inspector Oakes, Stephen Thorne, Thanet, Ronald Herdman, Judith Smart, Rosalind Adams, Diana, Stella Forge, Alf, John Livesey, with Stephen Garlick, Crawford Logan, Andrew Seacombe, Teresa Stratfield, and Patience Tomlinson. The play was directed by Jane Morgan.
Well, now, you can't keep a good detective down, it would seem, and today Inspector Maigret just hates to be away from the scene of a crime. Even on holiday, he's determined to solve a murder case, albeit remotely.
Georges Simenon's Maigret's Little Joke. Dramatised by Alison Joseph. Starring Nicolas Le Prévost as Chief Inspector Maigret, with Julian Barnes as Georges Simenon and Julie Legrand as Madame Maigret.
Of course, it was rather funny, wasn't it, that such an important case should happen while you were on holiday?
Indeed. Very amusing.
There you were, having to watch the whole thing from the sidelines, read about it in newspapers.
Madame Maigret and I found it very diverting.
Fretting about poor old Janvier, who was in charge. And you'd promised your doctor you'd take a break after that terrible bronchitis you had in the spring.
Yes. Dr. Pardon insisted that I take a holiday.
But you didn't go away.
No. I told headquarters we were away. I put the telephone on the message service. We stayed in Paris.
Very romantic.
It was.
I'm surprised your wife allowed it. Didn't she think you'd run back to the Quai des Orfèvres at the first opportunity?
My wife knows I keep my promises. Look, there's our concierge out in the street.
You'll have to move out of the light, dear, so I can sweep there.
She's been giving me funny looks all week.
And after that, I must tidy the bedroom.
She thinks I ought to be at my office.
It's 10:30. Aren't you going down to the cafe as usual?
10:30 already? What is it?
I knew this wouldn't work.
I am perfectly happy.
All you do is stand there looking out of the window.
I like looking out of the window.
And how many lorries have you counted this morning?
Well, you see, that's very interesting. Usually, by now, 2 have come back to the depot and 2 have gone out, but this morning I've seen 3 leave and none arrive.
Oh, Maigret.
My dear, everything's fine. In a while I'll go down to the cafe and buy the morning papers, then I expect we'll have lunch. And then a walk, perhaps, if you like. It's such a lovely day.
It's all my fault. All it will take is one call from headquarters and you'll go to work. And your terrible cough will come back. I should have been more insistent with that woman at Les Sables d'Olonne when I tried to book us a room there and she said it was full.
Ah, 3 lorries all turning up at once. You see, there is order in the universe. Now the concierge has stopped to talk to that young man with the funny eye who's taken over the hardware shop across the road.
You really are happy, aren't you?
Madame Maigret, I am perfectly happy. I shall go down to the cafe now. And you could do your sweeping in peace. Of course I'm happy. I'm on holiday.
The usual, sir?
Oh, thank you.
Here's your paper. Oh, why's a headline this morning, sir? Dead body in a cupboard.
Dead body?
Yeah, look here. Doctor's wife found dead in a cupboard at her own husband's surgery. Yesterday they found her. Fancy address and all. Boulevard Houseman. Ooh, can you imagine? I'll get your beer, sir.
I'd better go and phone headquarters.
Oh, sorry, sir. You wanting the phone?
No, not at all, no. Just the beer, thank you. And the newspaper?
Oh, sorry, sir.
Thank you.
The dead woman is Eveline Jarve, wife of Dr. Philippe Jarve of 137 bis Boulevard Haussmann. On July the 1st, the Jarves, with their 3-year-old daughter and the child's nurse, left Paris for a 6-week stay at Cannes. On the same day, a young doctor, Gilbert Négrel, took over the consulting rooms in the Boulevard Haussmann as a locum. The couple's servant, a Josepha Chauvet, also remained in Paris. Dr. Négrel is 30, a bachelor. The servant reported a sickly smell in one of the consulting rooms, and together with Dr. Négrel they opened a cupboard. There, they found the naked body of a woman. It had been bent double to fit into the confined space. This woman was later identified as Madame Jarve. The corpse bore no signs of violence apart from a minor bruise to the right temple. In the absence of Chief Inspector Maigret on holiday, the case is being investigated by Inspector Janvier.
On holiday?
Your beer, sir.
Oh, thank you.
They've hauled in both the men for questioning.
Sorry?
The police. They hauled in that doctor who found the body, and they've got the other doctor up from Cannes, the dead woman's husband. They have to make statements. It'll be about money, you know.
It will?
The dead woman, she's from Concarneau. Eveline Le Grec, from the canning company. You know, Le Grec et Laurent Sardines.
Oh.
Their father owned that. That's in this paper. Look. He died 2 years ago, which makes her and her brother the sole inheritors. She'd have been loaded, I reckon. Someone's after her money.
You think so?
Sure of it.
The body was bent in half.
Oh, no, sir. Horrible. Oh, medical man, are you?
Me? Oh, no. No, not me. Actually, I might just use your telephone, if you don't mind.
Oh, be my guest, sir.
Dr. Pardon, it's Maigret.
Maigret, old boy. How's the holiday? Been spotted yet?
No, not as far as I know. This Jarve case.
My phone hasn't stopped. The whole medical profession is gossiping like concierge.
Do you know Dr. Jarve?
I know of him. Sound practitioner, well thought of. Must be pretty well off with a practice like that.
And the locum?
Gilbert Négrel. He usually works with Professor Lebier at the School of Medicine, which is a recommendation in itself. Now look, Maigret, I'm not having you running back to police headquarters.
I'm on holiday, remember?
Yes, but knowing you...
I promised Madame Maigret. No, my friend, I'm following this whole case like any other ordinary member of the public, reading a newspaper, chatting with waiters.
Tell you what, old boy, why don't you come round for dinner with us tonight, you and Madame Maigret?
Even better. Why don't we come, pick you two up, take you to a bistro somewhere?
Well, that's very kind of you.
And maybe if you could make a few calls in the meantime, find out what you can.
Following the case just like any other ordinary member of the public, you mean?
I knew I could count on you, Pardon.
The Jarve family has occupied the second floor of 137 bis Boulevard Haussmann for the last 5 years.
They live in one of the 2 luxury flats, while the one opposite is used for the doctor's practice. Dr. Maigret claims that on Saturday he left the surgery at 5:30 in the evening, when the servant, Josepha Chauvet, was still there. No one in the building noticed any unusual arrivals or departures. Madame Chauvet says she spent Sunday with her daughter in the Rue Washington, not returning until yesterday, Monday. And that was when she noticed the smell.
You see, pardon, how good I am at being on holiday.
He does look well, doesn't he?
Here I am, in a bistro on the banks of the River Marne. And this afternoon, we took a stroll along the Boulevard Haussmann, didn't we, dear?
Boulevard Haussmann, eh?
Yes, oh, sheer coincidence, my dear fellow. I mean, I did happen to pass 137 and looked up at the windows. There's quite a crowd outside as well. I can't think what they hope to see.
That's ordinary members of the public for you.
You see, what I wanted to know is, ladies, how about liqueurs? Waiter, liqueurs for the ladies and Calvados for the doctor and myself.
You know, on the Boulevard Haussmann, I saw such a lovely outfit in the shop window. The jacket was fitted like this, and it had big buttons.
Lovely. What I want to know is, pardon, how long after death can you bend a body?
It depends on various factors, temperature, that kind of thing. Anything from 1 hour to about 5.
5?
I was talking to my colleague Deberlin about all this earlier today. It turns out he's known Philippe Jarve for quite some time.
Oh?
Determined man, Jarve. Clever, too. Scholarship boy. Comes from quite humble origins. His father died when he was young. Started off in quite a rough practice, but then about 5 years ago, he went to Concarneau on holiday, and that's when he met Eveline.
Was the marriage happy?
Deberlin thought so, yes. She'd had an unhappy childhood. Her mother died young. She was very shy, Deberlin said. He used to visit them on the Boulevard Haussmann. Oh, and he said she had something wrong with her health. Jarve hinted at it from time to time. I don't know what to make of it. Jarve's back at home now, apparently.
How'd you know that?
No, it was on the radio news.
The radio?
Don't you listen?
No, I never thought of it. Usually, I already know.
Ordinary member of the public now, Maigret. Not tempted to race over to the Quai des Orfèvres?
Look at this lovely evening, pardon. Look at the river, huh? Canoes, the lights reflected on the water. Meanwhile, poor old Janvier will be sitting in his office, my office, beer and sandwiches sent up from the Brasserie Dauphine. And I read in the papers that the examining magistrate is Judge Comelio, who's very tiresome and always inclined to arrest the first available suspect, guilty or not. And he hates the press. Well, which is why this little reporter man, Lasagna, is sniffing around so fiercely, I imagine. Because if the press think they're being kept away from a story, it just makes them all the more determined.
I read Lasagna's report this morning. Apparently, Dr. Jarve lied about where he was.
Yes, yeah. He pretended to take a flight to London on that Saturday, but actually he followed his wife to Paris, poor old Janvier. You can't know, dear pardon, how many phone calls it takes to establish a chain of events like that. Not a Calvados. Waiter!
So, the husband followed the wife to Paris?
Yes.
Another one, dear?
Well, it won't do any harm. I'm on holiday after all.
The post-mortem has revealed that the contusion on the victim's right temple was not the cause of death. The victim was found to have a syringe mark on the left thigh. Tests are now being carried out, and the results will be known later.
Are you beer, sir?
Just a coffee, please. And the papers.
They should have kept the husband behind bars, if you ask me.
Dr. Jarve?
Yes. What I reckon is he was having an affair with someone and wanted to leave, but He needed the wife's money, so he gets her out the way, easy. He inherits, starts a new life with the mistress. And this needle prick on her leg, he'd know, you see, wouldn't he? Being a doctor.
So would the other man, the locum.
Yeah, but I mean, no motive, is there?
Unless she was involved with him in some way.
Not her. Seen what she looked like? Here, look at this photo of her. Hardly a beauty, is she? Not the sort of woman to have a lover.
What I want to know is...
the brothers come to Paris.
Yves Le Guerec? Yes, well, I heard, yeah. But what I still don't understand
He'll have
is...
something to say about his sister's husband, I reckon.
It's a fact that...
What's it?
Could I bother you for a piece of notepaper, not headed, and a pen?
Well, of course, sir, right away. You want to send a message to someone?
In a way, yes.
You wrote what?
I wrote, "Why the devil was she naked?" I disguised my handwriting and sent it off to Janvier.
Anonymously?
Of course. It's been on my mind. Apparently she was killed sometime between 4 in the afternoon and 10 at night. Now, why would she put herself in the nude during those hours? To change her clothes? To have a bath? Not in the consulting rooms? Did the murderer undress himself? And if so, why? No one was seen leaving a flat with a parcel of clothes.
I hope Janvier appreciates your note.
Just doing my duty, like any other...
Ordinary member of the public, yes. My wife remarked how well you seemed yesterday evening, how relaxed.
Of course I'm relaxed, pardon. I could please myself. I don't have to go to work. This afternoon I'm taking Madame Maigret to the Place du Théâtre.
New revelations, read all about it.
It's hardly changed, Maigret, from when we used to come here.
Wine hasn't improved either.
Job case, new revelations, read all about it.
Oh, yes, thank you. I'll have this one and this one. There we are.
You set? Job case, new revelations, read all about it.
Here you are, my dear.
Job case, new revelations.
Look, here's a photo of the poor woman, taken by her brother on holiday. She looks embarrassed. Poor girl.
Oh, yeah. Negrel, the locum, has given an interview to Lassagne. He's back home in the Rue Saint-Père. What's he say? Why should I have murdered Madame Jave? It's a very good question, I'd say.
It's about love, Michel. I told you. That doctor's wife, she loved that other man. Bet you anything.
But you say everything's about love, Amy.
So, perhaps it is.
What else does Negrel have to say?
He'd known the Javes about 3 years, goes for dinner there from time to time. Was he friendly with Madame Jave? No, not particularly. Did she take him into her confidence? Not really. She was a shy woman. Ah, this is interesting. She suffered from Stoker-Adams disease, a chronic slow pulse. Dr. Paul will be interested in that. Risk of fainting, fits, sometimes sudden death. What does your paper say, my dear?
Well, there's an interview here with her brother.
Oh, Yves Le Guerec.
He says that at the time that Philippe Jave married his sister, he had terrible debts, and the father paid them off. And he says that these rumours that his sister had a lover are a terrible slander.
A lover, eh?
But the concierge where the locum lives said the doctor's wife was a regular visitor. See, I told you so.
How can they be lovers? It says in this paper that Negrel is engaged to a medical student. Why would he bother with this doctor's wife?
You can tell he's madly in love with her because the reporter says that he smoked all the way through the interview.
Oh, you can tell that, can you?
Yes, I can, actually.
So why did the husband kill her?
Don't you know anything about love?
What are you thinking, Dad?
Well, I'm thinking that perhaps ordinary members of the public can do my job better than I can.
Maigret, good morning. It's Pardon. Just thought I'd let you know they've published the toxicology report. It was digitalis, the injection, a heart drug used to lower the pulse. In the case of Eveline Jave, it would have been fatal.
Ah. Could it have been an accident?
That's what I wondered. Says she had a fit of some kind in the consulting rooms. You might try camphor or Pressil to speed up the pulse. The ampoules don't look that different, and if the doctor was in distress, say, he might confuse the two.
What's your opinion?
Me? Oh, I don't have one.
Have you learned anything else about Dr. Jarve?
One doesn't really like to spread rumours about one's own profession.
Oh, no, of course not.
He was in debt again, desperate apparently.
Ah.
That's all I know. You're still keeping away from the office?
Yeah, very happily, thank you. Yes, good morning. I wonder if you could put me through to your reporter, Lasagna. Just tell him it's some information about the Jarve case. Thank you.
Hello? Who is this?
Oh, Monsieur Lasagna, I'd like to point out an omission in your article.
What omission? Look, if you're one of these time wasters...
Where was Josepha on Saturday afternoon?
In the flat, of course.
Yes, but which flat? Listen to me. The Jarves had 2 servants and the nurse. That's not much start for a flat as grand as theirs. On the other hand, across the corridor, in the doctor's rooms, there was nobody, once the cleaning was done, to open the door to patients.
I think I see what you're getting at.
Josepha wouldn't have hung about in the doctor's room when there was work to be done in the flat opposite. The bell for the doctor's door must be connected to the other flat.
Do you want to tell me who you are?
Oh, it's really of no concern.
Well, thanks, anyway. I'll check on it. Gilbert Négrel, the locum doctor, was to be married this autumn. His fiancée is Martine Chapuis, daughter of Maître Noël Chapuis, the well-known barrister. She is 24 and has a law degree, but switched to medical school where she met Négrel. She denied rumours of a relationship between her fiancé and Madame Jarve.
I wonder how they manage in London or New York. Without cafe terraces. Must be very miserable sitting inside the whole time.
It would explain a lot.
A funny sort of girl.
Who, my dear?
This fiancée, Mademoiselle Chapuis. In the papers, look. In my day...
In your day?
Well, she says she visited Négrel at his rooms, unaccompanied.
Oh,
Well, you can't mean to say you would prove.
I seem to remember Madame Maigret.
Maigret, really?
That little wood in the Chevreuse Valley.
That's different. Anyway, I didn't go boasting to the papers about it. Look, what does your paper say?
Here we are. Where was Josepha? Exactly. The 2 doors face each other, and usually Josepha waits in a domestic flat, and the bell rings in both, as I thought. Good for young Lasagna.
Young Lasagna? Anyone would think you'd personally sent him to find out.
Me? Good heavens, no. What a terrible morning. Look at this rain. And only 1 lorry so far.
Have you got any plans?
Not particularly. What day is it?
Friday.
Might just go down to the cafe.
Of course.
Madame Maigret, I'm wondering whether you're a little tired of this Parisian holiday.
No.
Perhaps we should go to the seaside after all.
Oh, I hear they are having very good weather at the coast.
We've done too much walking around.
And the Paris forecast is for more rain.
I suppose you could find out how that woman in Les Sables d'Olonne is placed for next week. I think I'll be free by then.
Free, Maigret?
I do like to see a case through, Madame Maigret.
According to the nurse, Claire Juseron, Dr. Jarve had been having an affair with the daughter of his servant, Josepha. The girl is called Antoinette Chauvet. Last Saturday, when Dr. Jarve arrived in Paris, he hurried to her flat in the Rue Washington. The mother, Josepha, claims that she joined them there. Meanwhile, police have revealed that on the Friday evening, Madame Jarve made a lengthy phone call to Gilbert Négrel.
That gives the doctor an alibi then, doesn't it? He spent all that Saturday at his mistress's, and her mother was there. Worse luck for him, eh?
Yeah, but, they might be lying.
Oh, well, who's to say? Well, that nurse, she might be lying too. Saw that photo of her in the paper, didn't you, eh? Dear, oh dear, oh dear, there's a woman who doesn't like men.
Oh, you can tell that, can you?
Yes.
Another beer, sir? Yes, please. They found her jewels, you know.
Whose jewels?
The wife's. That tight-lipped nurse, when the coppers were leaving, she said, did they want to take the jewels? And there they were. Great big case of them. Millions of francs worth, apparently. Look, it's in this edition.
But the husband was in debt.
It's revenge, isn't it? He gets a mistress, she spends all their money on jewels. They're like that, aren't they, women?
Oh.
I'll get you beer.
Well, what I want to know is, did Dr. Jarve know there was a relationship between his wife and the locum? And did Madame Jarve know about her husband's affair?
Well, we'll have to wait for the police to find out about all that, won't we, sir?
Can't see why Janvier isn't going to Concarneau.
He's only just come back from Cannes.
He needs to get a clearer picture of Eveline Jarve.
What's he doing?
I'm just writing Janvier a note, telling him to go to Concarneau.
You frighten him.
He won't know it's from me. Now, is it another stroll?
In the rain.
We can take shelter in a cafe.
And buy yet more newspapers.
Here we are. Look. They've arrested Maigret. And here's his fiancée insisting he's innocent.
She stopped denying his affair with the doctor's wife.
Yes.
These modern young women. I'd have called off the wedding.
Perhaps it's like those soldiers you see at fun fairs shooting at old bottles. Me, playing at being a detective. It's a fact she was naked. Did Négrel come to visit her and succumb, even though he'd been trying to end it? And then perhaps they quarrelled? Perhaps he hit her? And then, in a panic, gave her an injection? Or was it Jarve? But he'd been to see his mistress. Why would he then call on his wife? Or perhaps it was all planned by Jarve because he wanted to get rid of her. Oh. Let poor old Janvier sort it out.
Do you think Négrel is innocent?
I don't know. I'll just have to wait for tomorrow's newspapers.
The scene of the investigation has moved to Concarneau. Maître Chapuis, father of the suspect's fiancée, has arrived in this seaside town determined to clear the name of his future son-in-law. At the same time, the brother of the dead woman has returned to his home here and is threatening to sue anyone who sullies the good name of his sister. Rumours here are circulating about Madame Jarve, who, it is claimed, conducted affairs with various men in the town from quite a young age.
That's why they don't have cafe terraces in London.
Hmm?
Because it's always raining there, isn't it? Like this. Do you believe all this, Maigret? About poor Madame Jarve having all these lovers?
I suppose not all women are as...
But look, there's an interview here with some old school friend of hers who says that Madame Jarve seduced a local man when she was only 14. Well, why do they have to print all this in the papers, Maigret?
It might be relevant, I suppose.
Oh, I feel sorry for her. She was a neglected child looking for love. She just looked in the wrong place.
Oh.
And even if she was having an affair with Négrel...
Yes?
No one really loved her. Dr. Jarve had Antoinette, and Gilbert was engaged to this clever medical student. Poor Madame Jarve.
So, perhaps my waiter in the cafe is right after all.
What did he say?
That her collecting all those jewels was a kind of revenge. Oh dear.
What?
This headline, it says, "Has Maigret been called in?" Oh dear. They've tracked us down to Les Sables d'Olonne and found that we're not there. Well, too bad. Oh, look at this. Martine Chapuis has given an interview. She says that she knew about the relationship between her fiancé and Madame Jarve, but she says it was just an affair, nothing serious.
Well, I don't understand it. If you've been behaving like that within weeks of our marriage... Maigret, you're not listening to me.
No, but there's something about the landing, the two doors. Why was she still naked?
New developments in the Boulevard Houseman case.
Oh, shh. Maigret, the radio.
Both Dr. Jarve and his mistress, Antoinette Chauvet, were taken in for questioning. Police have also reported that a button was found in the doctor's rooms which had been torn from the jacket of Gilbert Maigret. Full details in our news bulletin.
Can we have our bill, please?
Yes, monsieur.
Are we going?
Yes.
Where to?
We're going to get a taxi to the corner of Boulevard Richard Lenoir and the Boulevard Voltaire in case the press are outside our flat.
You mean I'm to go in alone?
We'll go in as if nothing was up. If there are reporters, say we've come to spend a few hours in Paris and that I'm out in town somewhere. And if I'm not back for dinner, eat without me. Oh, and perhaps if you wouldn't mind, you could pack us a suitcase or two.
Oh, Maigret, are you going to the office after all?
Madame Maigret, I promised you I wouldn't. And since when have I broken a promise to you? Taxi!
So, the papers were right, eh, Chief Inspector? You are in Paris.
Just visiting, you know.
Calvados, sir. I'll join you. We'll be closing up soon. Your usual seat is free. Mind you, by this time of night, all the seats are free. Apart from those two salesmen over there. That girl on her own in the corner. You've been across to see Janvier, you?
No,
you can see your office window from here, you know.
So you can. Cheers.
Cheers. I said to Maria here, didn't I, girl? I said they'd be getting you back. Only Inspector Maigret can sort this out, I said. But they're all lying, aren't they? Every last one of them. That mistress, that servant, that nurse down in Cannes, Mademoiselle Jusseron.
Claire, isn't it?
Sorry, did you say something, sir?
Oh, no, nothing.
That nurse, she hates men. You can tell from the photo in the paper.
Yeah, but that's just it, you see. That type, in my experience. Sometimes they hate every man, but one, which would explain...
4 hours they've been up there, questioning that doctor.
Of course. Can I use your phone?
Oh, be my guest, sir.
Yes, thank you. I want a Villa Marie-Thérèse at Cannes. Mademoiselle Jusseron, please.
Hello? Who is this?
Hello? Claire?
Yes, it's me. I can hardly hear you.
It's Monsieur.
Oh, it's you. I'm sorry about the noise. The baby's crying.
Tell me, Claire, when the police asked you about the phone call that my wife made to Paris on Friday, did you tell them you'd spoken to me about it?
Certainly not.
I knew I could rely on you. Thank you very much. That's all.
Did you get through all right, sir?
Yes.
Sir, that young woman in the corner, she's been watching the Palais de Justice the whole time she's been here.
Yes. Oh, I noticed her, too. Yeah. I'll have another Calvados, please, Victor.
Right away, sir.
Right.
Mind if I join you?
Oh, okay. You took your time.
I wasn't sure it was you to start with.
Oh, well, I recognise you from the papers. Although you're prettier.
Oh, just because I'm at medical school. No one seems to think a girl can be pretty and clever.
Will you join me in a Calvados? Victor? Another one?
Sir.
You must be needing it, Mademoiselle Chapuis.
Oh, thanks. Why aren't you over there?
I'm on holiday.
Really?
Really?
What, in Paris?
Well, even Janvier doesn't know I'm here.
So why are you watching your own window? Oh, at least if it was your case, you'd understand.
Understand what, mademoiselle?
Well, that Gilbert didn't kill that woman.
Are you sure? You see, he may be clever, but you can still blush.
I wasn't blushing.
You've had your doubts about him.
Do you mind if I smoke?
Oh, not at all.
I'm not sure how to say this. It's about how Gilbert would be when he's with a woman.
Oh.
Now, you know that he and I haven't waited until we got married to... Oh, the press have loved all that, those sleazy reporters. Anyway, the point I'm making is that Madame Jarve's body was completely naked.
That's exactly what I've been trying to work out.
Well, this is very personal, Monsieur Maigret. But with Gilbert, that simply wouldn't be possible. What I mean is...
Mademoiselle, you can trust me.
Well, Gilbert would have been naked too. There. I know him. I love him. He's shy and sensitive. And it's not as if they'd have had long. I mean, they were in the consulting rooms. That servant could have come in at any minute. He'd have... Even with that woman, he'd have wanted to be on equal terms. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't normally talk in this way with a man I've only just met, but...
Martine, if I may call you that, I believe you.
Then you believe that Gilbert didn't do it?
What we know, my dear, is that on Saturday afternoon, Madame Jarve visited the consulting rooms where she met her death from a fatal injection. We know that your Gilbert was in the consulting room that afternoon. We also know that Dr. Jarve had left for south of France and arrived in Paris that day. His alibi has been provided by his mistress and her mother, which makes it unreliable, of course. We know that anyone in the flat would hear the doorbell for the consulting rooms, so if Dr. Jarve was in the flat, he would know when his wife was there. We know, too, that your Gilbert had a fierce argument with Madame Jarve that afternoon. We also know, however, that Dr. Jarve was in debt, and his wife was wealthy, and that the marriage appears to have been loveless.
Oh.
Look at that window. You can see someone pacing. It'll be Janvier. Will you excuse me for a moment, my dear? Have you got some notepaper without heading? And an envelope?
I certainly have, sir. Here.
That boy is washing up in the kitchen. Could you ask him to deliver a note for me?
Yeah, of course, sir. Yeah.
For the attention of Inspector Janvier. Very urgent. Jarve learned from the nurse on Friday night that his wife was coming to Paris.
The boy's waiting, sir.
Ask him to take this envelope to that policeman by the gate across there at headquarters. He must tell the policeman it is to go directly to Inspector Janvier. He's to answer no questions, and then go straight home.
Are you, playing a joke on them, sir?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, in a manner of speaking.
What have you been doing?
Oh, I'm being an ordinary member of the public. Sending notes to the police. Oh, look, there's the boy. There he goes. Good. Oh, they're letting him in.
Was your note to do with what I told you?
No.
To do with your phone call?
Yes. Yeah. Another Calva? Victor? Tomorrow?
Oh, it's funny. You wouldn't think that Dr. Jave was a murderer.
In my experience, my dear, no one looks like a murderer. Thank you, Victor. Even murderers. Look, boys come back down again. Excellent.
Well, what now?
Well, we wait.
Well, it's late.
These things can go on for hours. Oh.
They want to close up here.
Shall we go for a walk? The bill, Victor?
Certainly, sir.
Oh, I'll pay for my own drinks, thank you.
You are a modern young woman, aren't you?
Oh, modern. That's the other word people use. You can be modern and clever, or you can be pretty, but not both. What do you think?
Oh, mademoiselle, I know what I think.
Do the barges come past here all night?
Yes. Look, the lights are still on in my office. It's not as if Negrel really had a motive.
No.
Particularly as you knew about him sleeping with Eveline Jave. Why are you lying?
What do you mean? I knew all about their silly affair.
But he didn't tell you she'd come up from Cannes on Saturday to see him.
No.
No. Nor that she'd been to his place since you and he started.
Well, he respects my feelings. Anyway, I'm the one he loves. You do believe he's innocent, don't you?
Yes. Yes. I do. Dr. Jave knew from Friday night that his wife would be coming to Paris on Saturday. He followed her. Antoinette, his mistress, was just the alibi. What I don't like is the fact he undressed her. He must have wanted it to look... He must have wanted suspicion to fall on Gilbert. Thought he was being clever. But it's the clever ones who get caught. Always one detail too many. I'm absolutely sure that Jave was in the flat opposite while his wife was with your fiancé in the consulting rooms on that Saturday. Whatever passed between Gilbert and Eveline that day...
I don't want to know.
Some kind of scene. Perhaps she was pleading with him, clinging to him. She tore a button off his coat. Then, at 5:30, Gilbert left. Jave only had to cross the landing.
Don't tell me any more.
And afterwards, her husband undressed her and disposed of her clothes.
All the lights are still on. Oh, what if they don't understand, those men up there? If you went up now, you could make sure... What?
Something's happening. Footsteps in the yard. Someone's being taken down to the cells.
Dr. Jave?
Yeah, it must be. There's a gate. And look, the lights are going out. Here they come. Now, Janvier will be out in a minute. Oh, dear me. A handkerchief. Here.
Oh, thank you.
He's getting into the squad car. It's all right, he's alone.
Who?
Janvier. If he hadn't won, he'd be taking Dr. Jave home, too. Well, there you are, young lady. It's all over.
Oh, thank you, Inspector.
For what?
Oh, for everything.
Me? I did nothing. I'm on holiday. Tomorrow, I'm taking my wife to the seaside. Yeah.
Are you serious? Tomorrow?
I promised my wife a proper vacation.
Oh, she's lucky, your wife.
Yes, well, she needs a holiday.
No, I didn't mean the holiday.
Monsieur Maigret, a card for you. Post for you? How did they know we were here?
It's from Janvier.
Oh, what does he want now? Bothering you on holiday?
No. It just says, thanks, Chief.
Georges Simenon's Maigret's Little Joke was dramatised by Alison Joseph. Nicolas Le Prévost was Chief Inspector Maigret, and Julian Barnes was Simenon. Madame Maigret was played by Julie Legrand, and Dr. Pardon by Philip Joseph. Martine Chapuis was played by Jamie Barbakoff, Lasagna by Harry Myers, the waiter at the cafe by Philip Fox, Victor by Ewan Meredith, the girl on the next table, Cherie Taylor-Baptiste, the boy on the next table, Chris Moran, Mademoiselle Jusserand, Rachel Atkins. The music was composed and directed by Lucinda Mason-Brown and performed by the Viper's Dream Quartet. The director was Ned Chaillet.
We present Tragedy at Law by Cyril Hare, dramatised for radio by James Pickles, with Benjamin Whitrow as Mr. Justice Barber and June Barry as Hilda Barber. The play begins a few weeks after the outbreak of World War II in the autumn of 1939. Tragedy at Law.
No trumpeters?
I'm afraid not, my lord.
But, Mr. High Sheriff, we've always had trumpeters.
I realise that.
In all the 8 years I've been a High Court judge, trumpeters in full livery, at the opening of every assize.
We must blame Adolf Hitler.
Well, the war's only been on for 6 weeks.
2 of the trumpeters joined the army.
Oh, I see.
And the other the navy.
You'll be telling me next I can't have my rolls.
Oh, my lord. While I'm Sheriff of Berkshire, there will be a Rolls-Royce to bring you to court. Even if I have to sell my own.
I couldn't come in a Ford.
As His Majesty's representative in this county, I shall always...
I shall have a new marshal coming this morning.
Not a marshal of the Royal Air Force.
No. No, the Judge's Marshal is a very ancient office. They're rarer than they used to be. They're young barristers who've just qualified. They come on circuit with the High Court judge and stay with him at the various judges' lodgings.
Interesting. What do they do, then?
Well, they generally make themselves useful. Sort of secretary, in a way. Where's Beamish? That clerk of mine's never here when I want him. He's too keen on his darts. He's got a dartboard through there in his room. Are you there, Beamish?
Coming, my lord. The Marshal has just arrived. Mr. Justice Barber, Mr. Derek Marshall.
How do you do, my lord?
Marshal by name and Marshal by occupation. I remember. Meet the High Sheriff, Brigadier Haberton.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Glad to see you're smartly dressed, Marshal.
My lord, the Chief Constable just telephoned. Heppenstall has been released.
Heppenstall? And they think he'll try
You
to...
remember what he threatened when you sent him down? He's been bitter all through his sentence.
I gave him 5 years.
Oh, by Jove.
What do the police want me to do?
Heppenstall was here last night in Markhampton.
Then you must be planning to...
I knew we should see that man again.
He's trying to frighten me.
They'll have him if he tries anything.
Well, as he's got a brief here, I suppose we ought to invite Francis Pettigrew to lunch, Beamish.
I'll see to that, my lord.
Have a word with Pettigrew, Marshal. He's in my old chambers. He might take you on as a pupil.
Oh, thank you, my lord.
Pettigrew was a brilliant scholar, first-class honours and all that, but never quite lived up to his early promise. But even so... Your wife is coming to lunch, High Sheriff.
Oh, she wouldn't miss it for the world.
Time to go into court, my lord.
Oh, yes. Punctuality. Vital. Remember that, Marshal.
Silence!
all manner of persons having anything to do before my Lord the King's Justice of Oyer and Terminer and General Jail Delivery in and for the county of Berkshire, draw near and give your attendance. My Lord the King's Justice does strictly charge and command all persons to keep silence while the commission of the peace is read. You'll have another sherry before we go into lunch, Mrs. Hamilton.
Oh, rather.
You know Francis Pettigrew, High Sheriff?
Saw you in action this morning.
How do you do, Mr. High Sheriff?
Oh, you had that chap on the rack, all right.
He looks very guilty.
Well, they all do. They all are. Most of them, but proving it are.
I never thought of that.
Luncheon is served, my lord.
Oh, jolly good. It's through here, isn't it?
Forgive me, Mrs. Hamilton. On circuit, the judge takes precedence over everybody, even ladies.
Oh, how silly of me. You represent the king. I suppose I should have curtsied when I entered.
Personally, I don't care for that sort of thing, but some of my colleagues... Are you, prosecuting in the murder tomorrow, Pettigrew?
You may be thinking of the Oakenhurst murder. I am in that, for the defence.
That is a poor person's defence, is it not? Wonderful system, High Sheriff.
Poor persons, eh?
They get counsel to defend them at the expense of the state.
Good old British justice.
You'll earn a good deal of your income from poor persons' defences, Marshal, in your early days.
I hope so, my lord.
It's worth it for the experience. The system is an improvement on the old days. I know what some of my predecessors would have said, the state paying to defend a criminal.
It's essential, Judge.
Yeah, they might have thought it part and parcel of that sentimentality which is becoming far too common.
Here, here. That's what I say.
Bolshevism, that's what's behind it.
The outcry against capital punishment, for example. What do you think, Marshal?
I couldn't hang anybody.
Not part of your duties?
But if I couldn't do it...
Sentimentality. A disease that afflicts the young. Pettigrew, for instance. He used to be very anti-hanging.
I still am, Judge.
Oh, dear, dear, dear. The illusions of youth die hard with some of us.
Illusions?
I would extend the death penalty.
Stretching the stretching, eh?
What was that, Pettigrew? What? Oh! Well, you will have your little joke, but it's a serious matter. We should hang far more criminals.
I agree entirely. Every time.
We're too soft.
The habitual thief, for example, or the reckless motorist. They're better out of this world.
And may hope to find justice in the next.
Ah! It's time to go back into court.
Excuse me, my lord.
What is it, Beamish?
I found this letter for you just now.
Oh, yes.
It must have arrived while your lordship was having lunch. By hand.
To Mr. Justice Barber, alias the Shaver, or should it be old Father William? Justice will be done even to judges. Be sure that your sins will find you out. Well... Marshal, hand this to Sir Arthur.
Sir Arthur?
Yes, the Chief Constable.
Yes, my lord.
And this evening you'll need your dinner jacket. We're going to Judges' Night at the Barrister's Mess, the best wine cellar in Berkshire.
Derek, have your duties as Marshal brought you into contact with Hilda?
Hilda?
Lady Barber, the judge's wife. She was in our chambers. Very clever girl, Hilda, very promising barrister. She and I, we got on like a house on fire till the shaver took her over. He had a bigger practice than I had, and Hilda's never taken the vow of poverty.
You don't like my judge, do you, Pettigrew?
Call me Francis. Well, who does like him? Tell me who does. Not even Beamish, his faithful clerk. He hates the shaver's guts.
And Hilda?
Oh, even Hilda. I doubt whether even she... Well, she likes the lady bit. Lovely woman, though.
Marshal!
Yes, Judge?
Sorry to interrupt your intimate conversation with Pettigrew. Did you give that billet-doux to the Chief?
He's taking it seriously.
It's extraordinary how many anonymous letters a judge gets. One takes no notice of them. Have to have a thick skin to do my job.
You would say that again.
What else did the Chief say?
He said something about the man named Heppenstall.
More port, Judge.
Yeah, I'm driving. Not easy with this damn blackout. And it's time we were going back to the lodgings, Marshal. Where are you staying, Pettigrew?
The county.
Cheaper than here at the club, eh?
I prefer the county.
Give you a lift.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Judge. Most kind.
This damn rain doesn't make it any easier.
And no street lighting either.
Slits of light from the headlamps.
I've given up driving until the war ends.
Hardly see a thing.
Next turn left, Judge.
Should have let you drive, Marshal.
I may have had too much.
We turn left here, Judge.
Why didn't you say so, Pettigrew? We haven't hit something, have we?
I think we may have.
Something or someone.
Oh, dear.
What's happened here, then, sir?
A slight skid, officer, that's all.
Here, who's this?
What?
He knocked this man down.
Where?
He's unconscious.
Never saw it.
Come and give me a hand, please.
Must have stepped out in front.
How cold he is.
Ran out in front.
He's badly hurt.
He must have.
We shall need an ambulance.
He's drunk, isn't he?
An ambulance, and quick.
Shall I go and telephone?
No, let me. My hotel's just round.
And then I'll have to ask you gentlemen to accompany me to the station. Now, my lord, I have to see your licence and certificate of insurance.
Oh, yes, Constable, certainly. I always carry them. Here.
Thank you, sir.
One never knows. Sudden emergency can happen any time. Is something wrong, officer?
This certificate, sir.
Yes?
Is it the latest?
Why?
It's out of date.
Out of date?
Expired.
Impossible.
Look, my lord.
I renewed it. I think I did.
It is out of date, Judge. By months.
I'm afraid I shall have to caution you, my lord. I'm sorry, but I have to treat everybody...
Don't you think, officer, that the best thing is to report this to your superior? Then perhaps the chief constable can go and discuss it with his lordship at the lodgings.
Thank you, my lord, for telling me all about it.
Not at all, Chief Constable.
Most unfortunate.
The blackout.
Can happen to anybody.
I don't even know the poor fellow's name.
Sebald Smith. He was staying in Markhampton with friends.
And, his injuries?
Mild concussion. A crushed finger, a few small bruises. Slight shock.
Yes, but 100 or so should cover it if the finger recovers. This is a worry with there being no insurance.
I'd forgotten about that little matter.
Sir Arthur, I'm very much obliged to you for your coming to see me, and for being so understanding.
My lord, the anonymous letter that came yesterday, it may have emanated from Robert Heppenstall.
I know.
There is one point to save you uneasiness. People who plan crimes of violence don't usually advertise it, do they? But I shall post a man at the front of the lodgings, and another at the back, night and day.
Ah, Derek. What happened this morning? The chief constable.
He was with the judge for about half an hour.
Putting their heads together.
What do you mean?
To keep things quiet.
Would they, Francis?
Proclaim it from the housetops? And that'd never do.
But I mean, justice being...
But, my dear fellow, you can get rid of thoughts like that if you want to get on at the bar. You don't suffer from ideals, do you?
I'm not ashamed of them.
What do you want the judge tried before the local beats?
Well, he shouldn't be treated differently because he's a judge.
Judges have to be treated differently. It can be rather bad for them as individuals, and it gives the weaker brethren, like Barber, swollen heads. But it's good for public respect.
This is all rather bewildering.
Yeah. You'll learn.
Francis, you're saying it should all be hushed up.
I want you to promise to keep your mouth tightly shut, Derek.
Excuse me, my lord. This letter has just come for you.
Thank you, Beamish.
Delivered by hand. Another. Coming to be a regular...
Only one word. Murderer. Another for the Chief Constable, Beamish. I'll be glad to get to Southington tomorrow. I hope we have a better assize there. At least Lady Barbara will be with us.
These letters have come for you, William.
Oh, thank you, dear.
Your correspondence should be addressed to you at the courts.
Oh, dear.
What's the matter?
Nothing, Hilda, nothing.
Who's that letter from?
I'm just puzzled by the name.
What is it?
Well, it's not one that you'd know. Sebastian Sebald Smith.
I'm not a complete Philistine. He's one of the best-known pianists alive.
A pianist?
Give me the letter.
Well, no, I'd rather... well, if you...
We act on behalf of who was injured on the 12th instant, High Street, Markhampton. Serious injury to the knuckle joint of one finger. May have to be amputated. Grave consequence to a person in our client's position. Glad to know the name of your lordship's insurance company. Really, William, you're incorrigible. Why didn't you tell me about this? I suppose you were entirely to blame.
Well, it's difficult to...
How many times have I told you not to drive at night? Thank heaven this hasn't got into the papers. Sebald Smith. He's the sort of man who insures his hands for thousands.
I'd rather not talk about it, Hilda.
I'll deal with this letter. You have informed your insurance company. Well, have you or haven't you?
This is why I didn't tell you about it, dear.
William, are you trying to tell me that you're not insured at all?
I overlooked it.
Overlooked it? My God! If you must run over someone, why pick on Sebald Smith? He'll want enormous damages.
He may not lose the finger.
Can we plead contributory negligence?
We can't possibly fight the case. I mean, the publicity.
This may ruin us.
We must settle on the best terms we can.
This may ruin us, William, financially.
If the case gets to court, I shall have to resign.
No.
The Lord Chancellor is bound to take a very serious view.
Just how much money have you in the world, William? Apart from your 5,000 a year salary.
5,000 gross.
How much?
Well, as you know, dear, we haven't been able to save all that much. I mean, there isn't a fortune to fall back on. There's my pension, of course, but I have another 7 years before I draw on that.
Where are you going to find the 10,000 or so that the man will expect for his finger?
We must cut our expenditure.
I'll write to Michael.
Oh, your brother?
He's the one solicitor who won't gossip. I'll go to London and tell him all about it. He can just acknowledge this letter for the time being. The longer we keep Sebald Smith hanging about, the better. After a few months, he'll be much more reasonable.
Yes, dear.
I hear that Francis Pettigrew has a brief in your court tomorrow. Let's invite him to dinner.
Well, Pettigrew came to lunch at Markhampton.
Why can't you call him Francis?
I've never been as close to him as you were.
Centuries ago.
He's never married.
I find Francis amusing.
No, well, I can't entertain counsel on one side only.
You did at Markhampton. Who's against Francis in his case tomorrow?
Martin Flack.
Then that's settled. Invite Flack to dinner, too.
Is there more coffee in that pot, Marshal?
So sorry, Judge. Shall
Let me
I
pour you some, Judge.
Thank you, Flack.
That was an excellent dinner, Judge.
Yes, excellent.
Well, we haven't begun to feel the effects of wartime.
Economies will be coming soon.
Before I forget, Pettigrew, Hilda's brother will be writing to you.
He's a solicitor.
Oh?
Many conveyancing.
He wants a statement.
Yes. Gladly.
You've heard about the judge's little escapade, Martin?
It's very bad luck.
Do all the bar know?
There have been vague rumours, haven't there, Derek?
I would imagine so. I haven't said a word myself, though.
Did I meet Sebald Smith at your house, Judge?
Impossible.
About 6 or 7 years ago, someone brought him to a cocktail party. Sally Parsons, perhaps?
Oh, I know Sally.
Not well, I hope.
I thought she was a friend of yours, Hilda.
Friend? Spell it without the R, if you like.
Well, you were friendly.
She's still seen about with Sebastian. A dull relationship, one would have thought.
All the tedium of marriage without the respectability.
Sally Parsons and morals. Oil and water.
Where is that box of Hardiman's, Marshal?
I'll get them, Judge.
I didn't know you'd seen them, William.
Well, I don't need to see my favourite chocolates. I could sniff 'em a mile off. If ever I have to do without my Hardimans, the nation will be on its knees.
They're a gift from an admirer of William's.
Really?
Oh, don't sound so surprised, Martin.
Oh, I didn't mean that.
What admirer?
An anonymous one. They came through the post this morning.
No note.
Nothing.
From an accused who got off?
It's possible.
A rare bird in your court, Judge?
That will do, Pettigrew.
Would you care for a chocolate, Marshal?
After his lordship.
Yes. Now, let me see. This one in silver paper is my favourite of favourites.
Francis?
No. A doctor won't let me.
Martin?
No, I don't either.
What about you then, Marshal?
After you, Lady Barber.
I like this one best. Apart from William, I must be Hardiman's leading supporter.
What's wrong, Hilda?
Don't eat it, William.
I haven't.
Are you all right?
Oh, glass of water, quick.
What's wrong, Lady Barber?
They've been poisoned. Oh, my God.
Can I do anything? Lady Barber?
Doctor.
No need.
No, but if they're poisoned...
I didn't swallow any. I'll be all right.
Can I do anything, Lady Barber?
There's something I should have told you, Hilda. I didn't want to worry you. At Markhampton, I had 2 threatening letters, anonymous.
I had no idea. You told the police?
Well, they are looking for a certain man.
Well, go on. Who?
It could be Heppenstall.
Bob Heppenstall? But you gave him 5 years.
Remission.
I told you not to try that case, William.
Hilda, as the only High Court judge at the Old Bailey...
People said you had Bob Heppenstall's case put into your list deliberately.
Well, it's no use going over all that now.
And 5 years was too long.
The Court of Criminal Appeal didn't think so.
They didn't know him personally. You did. Bob must have thought he'd get off lightly appearing before his friend.
I have to treat everybody alike.
Should we perhaps find out what's been put in the chocolates and who sent them?
The address was typewritten. I burnt the wrapping paper.
Well, the chocolates must be analysed.
The police will see to that.
It's a little hard to explain, but I would prefer some private inquiry.
They must be analysed without delay.
Dear Martin, we heard you the first time.
Well, I'd like to do the analysis myself.
You, Fleck?
Yes, I'm interested in chemistry, you know.
Oh, I didn't.
I have my own little laboratory at home, my stinks room, my wife called it. A great sense of humour. I'd like you both to meet her.
She sounds delightful.
Well, I look at the chocolate that you partly ate, Lady Barber. I wonder.
You've solved it already?
Pass me the water, Derek.
Water?
Thank you.
You're going to pour water on it?
Ordinary H2O.
But it smells like...
Yes, acetylene gas.
What on earth are you...
The contents of that chocolate are...
Carbide?
No less.
A very odd choice for a poisoner.
This is no more than a stupid practical joke.
I don't find it amusing.
Swallowed whole, this chocolate could even be fatal, but no one consumes a hard chocolate in that manner, and a bite or a crunch give instant revelation and repudiation.
Somebody has played a practical joke on me.
On us? Who can it be?
That's what I intend to find out.
Yeah, Judge, if you don't mind, I think it's time I was on my way.
What? Oh, yes. Well, it's after 12, yes, I hadn't realised.
So I must go too.
Thank you for your
It
help,
was a splendid dinner.
Despite the denouement.
It's time I went to bed, yes.
Well, good night. Good night to all.
Good night.
Thank you again, Lady Barber.
Good night.
Pleasure.
Is someone really trying to kill me?
You think so?
I'm exaggerating. I mean, I've had 2 silly abusive letters, but I've had dozens of them in the past.
And Heppenstall?
Oh, it's probably a sheer coincidence. He happened to be at Markhampton.
William, my instinct tells me
Instinct?
that... Yes.
Women's instinct.
From the very beginning of this circuit, there's been an atmosphere of danger.
Well, we're going to Wimbleingham tomorrow. If anything happens there, coincidence can be ruled out.
I've decided to come with you.
What? Well, no judge's wife ever goes to the Wimbleingham lodgings.
I know they're lousy, but it's my duty to look after you. Oh, by the way, I've had a letter from Brother Michael.
Why didn't you tell me?
I didn't want to spoil your dinner. Sebald Smith is asking for 15,000.
Preposterous.
His finger has been amputated.
Oh dear.
Well, Michael wants to know what counter-offer to make.
And how can I advise on my own case?
Why not ask one of your brother judges, Alistair or Henry?
This wretched musician has me at his mercy. I mean, he knows I can't afford the publicity of going to court. If he won't be reasonable...
He won't be while that Sally Parsons woman is with him. But 15,000 is only a bargaining figure.
How can I get it home to you, Hilda? Sebald Smith has only to issue a writ with my name on it, and my position on the bench becomes untenable.
So, Marshal, we are leaving Southington tomorrow, eh?
Round and round the circuit we go, Mr. Beamish.
Things haven't been too easy on the domestic side here.
With luck, Wimbleingham should be better.
What, now our ladyship's coming? I'll tell you this, Marshal. I wish her joy of it in those lodgings.
What's wrong with them?
No judge's lady has stayed there since 19012, except Lady Fosbury, and she doesn't count.
I really can't discuss Lady Barbara's decision.
I am discussing the lodgings at Wimbleingham.
What is wrong with them?
Well, bits of the place go back to the Normans. Most of it's 17th century. It's all part of the court building. You go out your bedroom, down 2 steps, turn right. You're in the public gallery. And you can still see the window when it took them out to be hanged.
What are the bedrooms like?
Oh, 2 decent ones, and 1 just passable. The just passable one is yours. Usually it's mine. Lady Fosbury and her husband, they were old-fashioned. They slept in the same room.
So this, Mr. Beamish, is the bedroom you said was just passable.
You should see mine.
The wallpaper's coming off.
Just not passable.
And as for the bed...
Look, it's sherry time downstairs. Turn right when you get out of here. Keep straight on for about 2 miles till you come to the staircase down there, and you're in the main part of the lodgings. But mind how you go. There's no proper lighting.
Marshal? Isn't all this too exquisitely foul? We've been trying to think of something really stinging to put in the visitors' book.
You have, dear.
I'm sure there are rats in my bedroom. I don't know about yours, William. I must be the bravest woman in England, venturing where no other judge's wife has ever been.
Ah, except Lady Fosbury.
Lady who?
Her arrival apparently did not add to the bedroom accommodation required.
What a very sweet way of putting it.
We shall only be here 2 nights. There are 4 criminal cases, and the civil action has been settled.
Good.
Wimbleingham has always been a very peaceful place.
I can't see myself sleeping a wink in that bed. It'll be one long nightmare. Why do the judge and Francis Pettigrew dislike each other so much? Is it something to do with Hilda? Lovely Hilda. Is the judge really in danger? Or is somebody playing the fool with him? Pulling his leg or something? And this Heppenstall, who the devil is he? I keep talking about him, but nobody says who he is, except that he knew the judge who sent him down. I could ask Beamish, but he's familiar enough already. Anyway, I can't stand the man. What the devil's going on? I've got to do something. Where are my slippers? The light switch. Oh, that's there. That's better. Dressing up. Oh, those damn 2 steps. Why is there no light in this corridor? Who's that? Who's there? You've knocked me down. Who are you? Stop blinding me with that torch.
Oh, it's you, Marshal.
Mr. Beamish.
You know, you nearly gave me a nasty fall.
You did give me one. What's going on?
Well, that's what I came to find out. Disgrace, no lights in this corridor. It's a bleeding blackout, I suppose.
Beamish! Beamish, is that you?
Come in, my lord.
I'll come with you.
Lady Barbara has been attacked.
Oh, my eye. There's my eye. There's blood.
Get a doctor, someone.
The police are supposed to be guarded.
I'll rouse her, my lady, and ring for a doctor.
Should we help Lady Barbara back to bed?
Yes, thank you, Marshal.
Are you all right, William?
Yes, I'm all right, dear.
He hit me. It's my head.
She's passed out. How is Lady Barbara this morning, Judge?
As well as can be expected. Toast, please.
So sorry.
Read your Times yet, Marshal?
I get the Manchester Guardian.
No, do you really? I don't like the look of things in Finland.
No. Can I do anything for Lady Barbara?
No, she must be kept very quiet.
Sorry to disappoint you, William.
My dear, you should be in bed.
I didn't mean to startle you. I know I look hideous.
Never.
My eye.
The doctor insisted that you stay in bed.
Yes, well, he doesn't know what these beds are like.
You've had a nasty experience.
It was all I could do to get out of my room. A great fat policeman was blocking the way. On the stable door principle.
Can I get you anything, Lady Barber?
No, I have some of this toast.
Yes?
Excuse me, my lord.
Yes, Beamish?
The chief constable is here.
Ah, yes. Come in, Sir Arthur.
Oh, I am sorry to disturb your breakfast.
It has to be done, I suppose.
Excuse me, I have other matters.
Now, Lady Barber, please tell me about this distressing episode.
Well, I woke up at what turned out to be 2:45, and there was a noise in the passage, so I went towards my husband's room.
Oh, why did you make for there?
I thought there might be an attempt on his life.
Ah, the anonymous letters.
And a few days ago, an anonymous person sent us some chocolates that had been tampered with. We should have told you.
You still have them?
Oh, yes. Anyway, it was dark in the passage, so I felt my way along the wall. And as I got to the judge's door, I bumped into someone. The man, whoever he was, got hold of my throat, and then I felt a terrific blow in the eye.
You couldn't see his face?
Oh, hopeless.
Well, this doesn't seem to fit. The man who sent the letters might also have sent the chocolates, but not violence.
And how did he get into these lodgings and out again without being apprehended?
Oh, this building's a security nightmare. So many entrances. Easy for someone to come in during the day and hide.
There's no sign of forcible entry?
None.
Yes, very odd.
Could the assailant be someone resident in the lodging?
Oh, never.
Now, I'll tell you one thing, Sir Arthur. I can't wait to get on that train tomorrow. No judge's lady will ever come back to Wimbleingham. This one won't. Thank goodness they reserved this compartment for us.
But even in wartime, civilization has not lost all its trappings. Excuse me, my dear. The train will soon be standing in the station.
Marshal, come and have tea with me at the Queen Anne Club tomorrow.
You want me to?
It's in Piccadilly.
Well, thank you.
We'll say 4:30, shall we? Marshal, I'm very, very worried. William doesn't pay any regard for his personal safety. He never has.
What do you propose, Lady Barber?
Do you know what a judge's marshal originally was? A bodyguard. He slept across the door of the judge's room.
On 2 guineas a day?
You and I have to be bodyguards for the rest of this circuit.
You think the judge is in real danger?
Now, first we have an anonymous letter. Then the motor accident, followed immediately by another letter. Whoever's planning all this knew about the accident. We're dealing with a very subtle, dangerous person. Then come the poisoned chocolates, and finally the assault on me.
But isn't this a job for the police?
Even so, at all times, day and night, William must be under the protection of one of us.
Where is he now?
Being followed at a discreet distance by an officer from the yard.
Does the judge know about your bodyguard idea? For you and me?
I don't want to alarm him. Perhaps you think all this is just too absurd. Derek.
I'm glad to help, Hilda.
Excuse me, Lady Barber, but a gentleman here says you're expecting.
Yes, thank you, Millie. Do come and sit down, Mr.
Thank you, ma'am. Detective Inspector Mallet, Metropolitan Police.
This is Derek Marshall.
Yes, I've heard of you, sir.
Have you?
You've had tea, Inspector?
Yes, thank you. Yes. I've inquired at Messrs. Hardiman's. The chocolates could have been purchased by anyone who went to their Bond Street shop between the 2nd and 7th instant.
Oh, hundreds.
Any suggestions, ma'am, as to who might be responsible for all these incidents?
Bob Heppenstall. Lay hands on him
We
and
have. I interviewed him this morning.
He's under arrest?
There was no charge on which we could.
But he's a convict on licence.
Our powers are limited.
Prevention of Crimes Act, 1871?
He admits he was in Markhampton at the time of the assize, but he had apparently genuine reasons. He denies being in Wimbleingham, and I can't disprove it.
So he's at liberty to murder my husband whenever he chooses?
I don't think he's our man.
Why?
Take the chocolates. Would he know that the judge likes Hardiman?
If he has a good memory.
Then the second letter. It seemed to refer to the accident on the previous night. But who knew about that?
Only those of us in the car.
Including Mr. Pettigrew.
Really, Inspector?
Was he at Wimbleingham?
He had 2 briefs.
But that doesn't prove
Do you suspect any member of staff?
Only Beamish.
His lordship's clerk?
A thoroughly unreliable, dangerous man.
How could he know about the accident?
The judge isn't born who could keep a secret from his clerk.
On the night Lady Barber was attacked, I ran into Beamish in the corridor. He kicked me in the ribs with his boots.
Boots? You sure?
Certain.
Why would he be wearing boots at 2:45 a.m.?
Well, if he hasn't any slippers...
Of course he has.
What else was he wearing, Mr. Marshall?
It was too dark.
Well, next day, the judge said how comic Beamish had looked with his green pyjamas under his overcoat.
The boots? Well, if he was bent on a crime, he'd have crept about in soft footwear.
Inspector, all you seem to be doing is raising difficulties.
Oh, this isn't an ordinary investigation, my lady. What am I being asked to do? To prevent someone unknown from doing something I don't know what. Well, we shall do our best.
Will you excuse me if I go now, Lady Barber? It's getting foggy out there in Piccadilly. Oh, I beg your pardon. My fault entirely. I wasn't looking.
Not a word, Derek.
Francis Pettigrew.
We may be observed.
Who by?
Oh, no. She's got into a taxi. It's going the other way.
Hilda?
Come for a drink at my club.
I can't.
Of course you can.
I have to meet my fiancée.
You have a fiancée?
Sheila Bartram. She's a nurse.
Oh, well, she'll wait. Nurses have to be patient. Well, I'm going for a drink. Several, in fact. Here's my club. Not as fine as Hilda's.
All right. Half an hour, then.
Put your hat and coat on that chair, and we'll sit here, shall we? Thanks. I always find the first few drinks are cold and unsatisfying unless one has a friend to share them with.
Hello there, Mr. Pettigrew.
Ah, Harry.
A double scotch?
Yes. Derek?
Sweet sherry, please.
Sherry, is it? Oh.
Yes. And how are the ideals?
I haven't lost them.
Oh, I had them at your age. Have you seen an evening paper?
No.
The Lord Chancellor has made Jefferson a county court judge.
Oh, had you expected to be...
This is the 5th I have applied for, and the last. Ah.
Hey, Arthur.
Thank you, Harry. Very good.
Sit.
Yeah.
Your very good health, Francis, sir. And do cheer up.
It's not so much that I object to Jefferson, odious though he is, and bad as it'll be as a judge. The Lord Chancellor has finally indicated that I have no hope whatsoever.
Don't be too despondent.
Father William has it in for me, of course, and his word is bound to count. He's never forgiven me for being first with Hilda.
But that was ages ago.
Elephants and High Court judges never forget. How is Hilda?
I'm rather worried.
And the black eye has spoiled her looks, pro tem.
How do you know about that?
I did 2 cases at Wimbleingham. Father William is having an uncomfortable circuit.
Who is this man Heppenstall?
Harry, say him again, please.
Right away, Mr. P.
Good. Bob Heppenstall was a solicitor who went wrong. He was my client. But when I went to war in 14, the shaver took him over. The shaver was unfit.
Rather like me.
Oh, I didn't know. Anyway, Heppenstall was a very smart fella. He got into company work. He and William used to dine and wine together. And then came the stock market collapse. Heppenstall had been speculating, and he started to borrow from clients' funds, and eventually it all came out. But who should his case come up before but Mr. Justice Barber?
Here we are, sir.
Thank you, Harry.
How on earth could Barber take the case?
Well, he said that as the only High Court judge at the Old Bailey, it was his duty. But it was the way he tried it.
Did Heppenstall plead guilty?
Oh, yes. And Barber was beastly to him. Beastly. He said things that weren't necessary.
Francis, you have got it in for my judge.
Do the police think Bob Heppenstall is behind it all?
They don't.
Are there any other suspects?
Even... I hate to say this. It must be the sherry. Even you, Francis.
Oh, God. Indeed.
Hilda wouldn't hear of it.
Oh, darling Hilda. Thank her for me. No, on second thoughts, better not. Better not.
How was the Athenaeum, William?
Oh, disastrous. Charles Harrington was there, more pompous than ever since he went to the Court of Appeal. He knows all about my accident.
Oh, dear.
Somebody has talked.
Must have.
It couldn't be Pettigrew. I mean, after all, we're such good friends.
Sally Parsons knows a lot of people.
What on earth are we going to do, Hilda?
Settle out of court.
How?
I shall go and see Sebald Smith.
Oh, no, it's out of the question. Now, you can't go behind the backs of solicitors. And Sebald Smith might twist it against us. I mean, we don't know the man.
I used to know him pretty well. Before you and I. Very well indeed.
Hilda!
Not so well.
Well, you must go and tell Michael first.
Yes, tomorrow. He's usually at home on a Sunday.
Your worthy husband is on the spot.
So am I, Michael.
The other side have us by the short hairs.
You needn't show quite so much relish.
Something has to be done, Hilda, and soon.
I'm going to see Sebald Smith.
Dangerous.
Can it make things any worse?
We've been lucky. His solicitors could have been more on the ball. They could have dropped a few hints into the ears of the police.
What about?
Well, I suppose the police were accused of suppressing a prosecution. They'd have to prosecute. That would turn the screw on us, all right.
Proceedings for dangerous driving have to be taken within 14 days, unless there was a notice of intended prosecution, and there wasn't.
What about the no insurance?
They have 6 months.
So they could still do it.
Definitely.
You always were a better lawyer than me, Hilda.
Yes, well, in my youth I made a special study of limitation periods.
Where will you be next week if I have to contact you?
Rambleford Assizes. Oh, except for tomorrow, when I shall go and see Sebald Smith. Once I've made sure Sally Parsons won't be there.
Come and sit down, Hilda.
Nice to see you, Sebastian.
It's been ages. Do you remember that time in your conservatory?
As if it was yesterday. And how are you?
I've been invited to conduct.
Oh, you'll be a great success.
Well, I had to try something.
Oh, conducting is the top of the tree.
But it won't give me back my finger.
You can't think how miserable this has made me, Sebastian.
It's bloody, bloody, bloody! Well, I think what it's done to me. Oh, there's no point.
Oh, you needn't mince words as far as I'm concerned. If talking about it would help.
It's awfully good of you to come and see me, Hilda.
Well, I just had to.
No, I don't quite see why you have come.
Well, ever since I heard about this dreadful affair, which wasn't for several days...
Typical of the man.
I've been thinking of you lying here eating your heart out.
Hilda, you haven't been concerned about me at all.
Sebastian!
You've come for a purpose.
Can't you guess?
To ask me to be lenient with your husband.
Now, I want to do what's best in everybody's interest.
He wants to see how cheaply he can get out of it.
Look, I didn't even tell him I was coming. Sebastian, if you insist on the demand your lawyers are making, William will be ruined.
That won't break my heart.
And I shall be ruined.
Now we are getting to the point. I should be sorry to see you deprived of the flesh pots, Hilda. But I warn you, I set a high value on my hands.
Well, a bankrupt debtor is no good to anyone. Either you force William off the bench or you let him stay there, earning his salary.
No, there's no point in this. There really isn't. Talk to my solicitors, not me.
It's nearly 7 a.m., Derek. I've come to take over guard duty.
I wish we had a better armchair.
No sound from inside William's room.
An occasional snore.
You're looking sad.
I've had a letter from Sheila, my fiancée.
Oh, tell me about her.
She's a nurse. Her father runs a small engineering firm. She says he's in deep trouble, but she doesn't say what.
Dear, dear.
Oh, and there's this little package addressed to a judge.
Oh, is it safe to open it?
It looks like a wedding cake box.
I can't think of anyone.
It isn't heavy enough for explosive.
I'll open it.
Be careful.
I am.
It couldn't be poisoned wedding cake.
Don't be frivolous, Derek.
Sorry.
Derek, it's a... Look.
A dead mouse.
Oh.
With a label round its neck.
Horrible. Horrible.
When the cat's away. Will you show this to the judge?
I don't want to alarm him.
Is it Heppenstall again?
I know who sent this disgusting thing.
Who?
It was directed against me.
But who?
Sally Parsons.
Sybil Smith's girlfriend?
We can expect no spark of compassion from that quarter. My journey was wasted.
Ah, Mr. Marshall.
Good evening, Mr. Beamish.
Hello.
I was about to go to bed.
I have had a most successful evening.
Good.
Yeah, defeated the enemy I did at darts.
Enemy?
Your local army champion.
Well done.
You are on early turn tonight, eh, Marshall?
What do you know about that?
I should have been a pretty poor judge's clerk if I hadn't spotted it, eh?
Does everybody in the house know?
Well, Mrs. Square's not interested in anything that can't be cooked and eaten. 2 maids wouldn't notice anything that wasn't shoved under their noses. But Savage, oh yeah, he knows all about it. Oh yeah, the butler knows. As for what the sutler bore, see, the butler saw, I don't know, I haven't discussed it with him.
I'm glad.
Well, you thought I would?
I didn't say that.
Well, I'm sorry to see a young gentleman like you losing your beauty sleep for nothing. You see, either it's an outside job or it's an inside one. If it's outside, what are the police for? If it's inside, well, there's only me and Savage. And why should either of us want to lose our jobs? Still, if it amuses her black-eyed ladyship...
That's enough, Mr. Beamish.
I could have told you that nothing would happen here at Rampleford.
Why?
Francis Pettigrew ain't got any briefs here, so he won't be coming.
I'll see you in the morning, Mr. Beamish, just before we leave for court.
Is my wig on straight?
Perfectly.
Has the High Sheriff arrived, Beamish?
Yes, my lord, just.
I didn't hear the rolls.
That's the point about a rolls.
Huh? All right, let's go downstairs then.
Very good.
Here we are.
Now,
Everything,
Beamish,
have
you just stay up there.
Yes,
After you, my lady.
You're sure you want to come to court today, Hilda?
I'll follow you down.
Well, you don't have to.
I'm going, William. I know my eyes still look
Why
ghastly.
can't there be more light on these stairs?
I'll speak to them about it, my lord.
What the...
Oh, God. William, he's fallen.
My lord, you slipped. What happened? Let me help you up, my lord.
You're so
There you go.
careless, William.
Oh, my wig, it's fallen off.
Look, that stair rod.
What?
It's missing.
It is, my lady.
Someone removed it, deliberately.
Beamish didn't fall.
Are you all right, my lord?
I don't think I will go to court, William.
I shall have to set off now or we'll be late. See you here about 5 o'clock, dear.
This letter came for you, William. By hand.
Oh, not another.
Well, it looks as though it could. I mean, the same sort of envelope and typing.
Yes.
I nearly put it straight in the fire.
Yes, the type is the same.
Read it, then.
You're not going to get off as easy as this again, you know.
No. I've also had a letter from Michael.
Oh, go on.
Sybil Smith won't come down by a penny. And they demand a speedy settlement.
What are we going to do, Hilda?
Economise. Rigidly. Starting when we get to Whitsey tomorrow. And be on our guard. Derek Marshall and I will look after you, William. We have a plan.
What sort of...
No need to trouble you about it. Vigilance, that's the word, day and night.
I don't know what you're talking about. No, tell me, Hilda, please.
All right, then. Derek and I are taking it in turns to sit outside your door during the night.
You are?
To protect you.
That's very good.
I'm on first watch tonight. Then tomorrow night at Whitsey I'll be on second, and Derek first.
What's that? Who can that be? Can't leave my post. At 4 o'clock in the morning? What's going on? And where's Hilda? She should have taken over at 3. She's late. I'd better go. It'll waken the whole household. All right. Who on earth can it be? Just a minute.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, Constable?
Sorry to disturb you.
What's wrong?
There's a light showing just round here.
Where?
You step outside, sir.
There shouldn't be a light.
There.
The light?
The window's open.
strange.
The wind's blowing the curtains.
What's happening, Derek?
There's a constable. A light in the library.
Oh, we'll see to it, officer.
Very good, ma'am.
Thank you for telling us.
Good night, then.
Good night,
Good night.
officer.
Thank you.
We'd better look in the library.
Do you think someone's got in?
Oh, I hope not.
The police would have seen.
Well, you know what they are. How many more of these attacks are we going to
Don't
have
worry,
to put up
Hilda.
with? Well, we shall soon see if anyone's in the library.
Be careful.
We've got to open the door.
Suppose he's armed.
Who?
Whoever might be behind.
Imagination.
The window. Wide enough for someone to...
Who used this library yesterday?
Nobody. So far as I know. An intruder wouldn't put the light on.
We'd better go and see that William's all right.
We're not at our post.
I overslept. Did you keep awake?
More or less.
I hope William is all right.
We'll check.
I say, Derek, can you smell anything?
I don't think so.
Gas.
Yes, gas.
Definitely.
But where?
William's bedroom. My God!
The smell.
The gas fire.
I'll turn it off.
I'll open the window, quick.
Where the hell's the tap?
Down by the right.
What's happening? What is it?
Damn.
The right-hand side, Derek. There, can't you see? Oh, this window.
What's...
Got it.
It won't open.
What's happening? I don't understand, Hilda.
Let me, Hilda.
Stop. Hurry,
What?
Derek.
The gas is off.
I should sick.
Gas! There's a smell of gas!
Now. Together.
1, 2, 3.
Gas! Open the window!
What the hell do you think we're trying to do?
I don't feel well.
That's it.
Hilda, Marshal, kindly tell me what's
You
going...
left the gas on.
I turned it off.
You can't
I'm
have
sure
William.
I did.
It was on, Judge.
We were just in time.
Oh, silly of me.
It was lucky Hilda smelt it.
Ah, should we get a doctor?
It's the sleeping pills.
You may wake up with a headache.
Well, I do these days, right. Well, good night then, thank you.
There isn't much gas left in the room, really.
No. Oh, well. Good night, William.
Yes.
Be more careful in future.
Thank you, dear.
Good night, Judge.
Good night.
It can't have been turned on for long.
William's been in bed for over 5 hours. Somebody got into this room while you were asleep, Derek Marshall.
I wasn't asleep.
You said you were.
He could have done it himself, deliberately.
How dare you? Go to bed. I'll see you in the morning when you're more yourself.
Shall I send for extra toast, Judge?
I have to go and polish up my judgment in the Factory Act case.
You're sure you're feeling all right, William?
I must be careful to turn off the tap.
I'll be ready at 10 to 10. Oh, I told the High Sheriff not to be 2 minutes late, as he was yesterday.
Hilda, about last night. I'm sorry if I...
And I'm sorry, Derek, if I...
Leaving that light on in the library could have been deliberate.
To lure you from William's door. Yes, but who?
If no one got in through the window...
Someone employed here. We have to be on our guard in every direction now, Derek.
You'll tell the police about the gas?
If I did, what would they do first?
Well, see the judge.
Yes. And he doesn't think someone tried to kill him. And there's another reason. Suppose... I don't know how to say this, Derek. Talking to you at all about these things, But suppose, just suppose you were right last night. What you said, that William did really mean to... Oh, Derek.
Don't cry, Hilda.
William is a very proud man. Intensely proud of himself and of his position.
Hilda, dear Hilda, please.
He is in danger of losing that position. He's been terribly, terribly worried. William is in many ways a very reserved man. Sometimes I wonder whether I really know him myself. But we must get ready for court. Today should be interesting. A murder. I've read the depositions. Martin Flack is prosecuting.
Please, Your Lordship. Members of the jury, the prisoner, Jack Ockenhurst, is defended by my learned friend, Mr. Francis Pettigrew. The prisoner worked as a blacksmith in the village of Eastbury. He is charged with the murder of Henry Palmer. The prosecution proposed to prove to you that the victim had, over a considerable period of time, indulged in an unlawful passion for the prisoner's wife. This was known to, or strongly suspected by, the prisoner. And on the night in question, the deceased was found outside the door of the prisoner's cottage, stabbed in the back by a deadly, sharp, stiletto-type dagger, which the prisoner had kept in his smithy. The first witness is Alice Oakenhurst, the prisoner's wife. After she has answered my questions, you will hear her cross-examined by my learned friend, Mr. Pettigrew.
Mrs. Oakenhurst, I think that you and the accused man have been married for some 9 years.
Nearly 10.
The marriage was happy at first, wasn't it?
Marriages always are at first, aren't they, Mr. Pettigrew?
Oh, are they? I really don't know. I have no experience.
Mr. Pettigrew, the witness is giving evidence, not you.
Sorry, madam. Mrs. Oakenhurst, when did your marriage start to be unhappy?
Oh, about 3 years ago, I suppose.
Was it about that time that you and the deceased man first became intimate?
Depends what you mean by intimate.
Not a very clear question, but you know what it means, Mrs. Oakenhurst.
Do I, your lordship?
Well, you should do, so answer it.
What was the question?
Mr. Pettigrew?
I shall not pursue it, my lord.
Oh, very well.
Mrs. Oakenhurst, did you meet the deceased man Palmer while you were working behind the bar at the Dog and Partridge?
Yes.
At first, he was one customer amongst many.
That's right.
And then your relationship ripened?
Depends what you mean by ripened.
An unsuitable word for a woman like this, Mr. Pettigrew.
It means what I think it means. The answer is yes.
When did it ripen?
Oh, about a couple of years back.
Were you soon meeting Henry Palmer several times a week, expressing your passion behind your husband's back?
I wouldn't do it in front of his face, would I?
Madam, this is a very serious matter.
It's serious for me, your lordship.
Did the time come when your feelings towards the deceased began to cool?
Oh, doesn't it always?
Did it with you, madam?
I just told you.
Did you then try to end the relationship?
Yes. But it wasn't right, was it?
You put it on ethical grounds?
What's that?
Mr. Pettigrew, you should know better.
The fact is, Mrs. Oakenhurst, you had met another male customer at the Dog and Partridge, and he began to make advances to you.
Well, lots of men do that at the Dog and Pea. You know what they're like.
I've never had the good fortune to visit that hostelry.
No, but you're a man, aren't you?
Mrs. Oakenhurst.
In fairness to the gentleman concerned, look at the name on this piece of paper and tell me if you know him. Well, Mrs. Oakenhurst.
Know him.
You know that man?
Of course I do. He's a customer.
Mm-hmm. Did he take a particular liking to you?
Yes and no.
Madam, you are coming near to committing contempt.
Am I? Well, I wouldn't know.
Did you become friendly with the man whose name is written there?
Well, he talked to me a lot. He's quite an amusing bloke. He walked me home once or twice.
Did Henry Palmer resent it?
Oh, I don't suppose he liked it.
He wanted you for himself, and he kept pestering you, did he not?
Oh, he did pester me a bit.
Did he threaten to tell your husband about you and this other man?
He did say something about that.
Did you want him to tell your husband?
Of course I didn't.
And on the night of the murder, did the deceased come to your house to have it out with you, knowing that your husband was not at home?
How can the witness say what the deceased knew?
I apologise, my lord.
Counsel, your experience should know better.
Mrs. Oakenhurst, please take the knife, Exhibit 4.
You want me to hold it?
Please.
It's got blood on it.
It's quite dry now.
Do as the counsel asks, Mrs. Oakenhurst.
All right. Well, what am I supposed to do with it now?
Did you know where your husband kept that knife?
In a drawer in the forge.
An unlocked drawer?
Are you suggesting, Mr. Pettigrew, that this witness committed the murder?
My lord, it is no part of my duty to suggest that anyone committed the murder. My submission will be, at the proper time, that the prosecution has not proved that my client did so, with profound respect. I'm entitled to put questions to the witness, to assist the jury in arriving at their conclusion.
But certain suggestions have been made to the witness, which, to my mind at least, can lead to only one inference. In justice to her, if to nobody else, they should be made plainly. However, if you are reluctant to ask the question, I will do so myself. Mrs. Oakenhurst, did you kill Henry Palmer?
No, your lordship, I did not.
Members of the jury, all the facts are now before you. After the evidence of the prisoner's wife, I suggest that you place not the faintest reliance upon any part of it. Will anyone ever know the precise role she played in the melancholic chain of events? One thing is certain. She is a thoroughly immoral and unscrupulous young woman who would not hesitate to say or do whatever happens to further her interest at any particular time. Who can ever be sure that it was not her hand that held that fatal knife, as it took away the life of the deceased man, Henry Palmer?
Members of the jury, it has been argued by Mr. Pettigrew, whose conduct of the defence in this case has unhappily been less than perfect, that the prisoner's wife may be the guilty person. But you are 12 reasonable men and women of the world. Can you really attach the slightest weight to that suggestion? And once you rule out Alice Oakenhurst, at whom else can the finger of guilt be pointed but the man who sits there in the dock?
I don't see how the jury can be long after that, summing up, Martin.
Old Father William has not been on his best behaviour.
He hasn't got a best behaviour.
He gave you a rough ride, Francis.
I've never been treated like that by any judge in the whole of my career. I don't mind so much for myself. It's a client I'm thinking of. There he is, fighting for his life, and the shaver has to behave like that.
You know what he's like.
I certainly do. I've known him for a long time, and I can honestly say that I loathe him more than any man I've ever met. One of these days I'll find a way of getting back at him.
He didn't give your chap a chance in that summing up.
There's only one end for Oakenhurst now.
To be taken to a lawful place of execution, and there be hanged by the neck until you be dead, and that your body shall be buried within the precincts of the prison wherein you shall have been last confined. And may the Lord have mercy upon your soul, Jack Oakenhurst.
Amen. All persons having anything further to do before my Lord the King's Justice may now depart hence and give their attendance tomorrow morning at 10:30.
Will they hang him?
Certain to. Oakenhurst took the life of another human being. See to that, Marshal.
Oh, somehow it doesn't seem fair.
He must pay with his own life. Justice demands it.
Ah, Mr. Beamish.
My Lord, the Clerk of Assize cannot find Exhibit 4.
What's that?
The knife.
I haven't got it.
Who had it last?
The prisoner, when he was giving evidence.
Well, whoever's got it had better be careful. I've never seen such a deadly weapon.
Oakenhurst handed it back to his counsel.
Well, see Francis Pettigrew.
It appears he left the building rather hurriedly.
Did he, indeed?
But nobody's going to want the knife.
The Court of Criminal Appeal?
Oh, no. We better get back to the lodgings.
Yes, the last evening on the circuit, thank goodness. I shall never come back to Markshire. Never.
We have to settle the circuit accounts this evening, Marshal.
Do we?
Yeah, all the petty cash items and so on. You have all the receipts, Beamish.
Indeed, my Lord.
In date order?
Of course.
Starting at the top.
In your usual fashion, my Lord.
Your last duty as Marshal, to go through the accounts, sort of audit.
With pleasure.
As soon as we've had dinner.
The last dinner, eh?
No need for frivolity, Marshal.
William?
Yes, dear.
This cheque.
Huh?
It's made out for cash. Who cashed it?
Beamish, of course. Usual petty cash.
It's been altered.
What?
Look, Derek. Tea wine, 60.
A different pen.
With a nought added. Touch that bell, Derek.
No, not Beamish. There's a mistake, perhaps.
I never did like the man.
Not dishonesty, Hilda. I mean, he's never been dishonest.
Never been found out.
We mustn't prejudge.
What innocent explanation can there be?
Well...
What do you say, Derek?
With respect, Judge, who else...
Precisely. Come in.
Beamish.
Yes, my lord.
We've been going through the accounts.
I can see.
This cheque.
Yeah?
Look at it. Examine it. At your leisure.
Well, my lady?
How does it come to be made out for £60?
Well, it's all in the accounts.
The counterfoil says 6, Mr. Beamish.
Yeah, well, that's a slip of the pen.
The receipts will show.
We'll look at them, shall we, Beamish?
Do what you like.
What do you mean, Beamish?
What I said, my lord.
Did you alter that cheque fraudulently?
If you want to put it like that.
Beamish, I could hardly believe it. You are dismissed. I ought to have you prosecuted. A gross betrayal of trust.
Yeah, all right.
for
All
which...
right. Well, that's enough. I'm not in one of your blasted sermons.
Beamish!
So I am sacked. Well, what of it? Not the only one that's due for the sack.
That's enough.
You ought to find one to talk about prosecuting people. If there wasn't one law for the rich...
Silence,
Prosecute me!
Did you hear?
You just try it.
Don't, Beamish. It's
Oh,
pointless.
there's a lot I could say about the goings-on on this circuit. And about that fine lady of yours.
Get out, Beamish. Now.
Now, don't forget this. I and mighty Mr. Justice Barber. You've had plenty of warnings. And here's the final one. You've got something coming to you.
Detective Inspector Mallet is here now, Commissioner.
Mallet, yes.
Go right in.
Come and sit down, Mallet.
Morning, sir.
I thought I'd better have a word with you myself, because Markshire still doesn't like the idea of us at the Yard taking over. Provincial forces never do, but I read all the statements, and the ones from Lady Barber and Derek Marshall are interesting. There is a discrepancy.
Her ladyship didn't tell me about the mouse incident.
Good man, Mallet.
Well, Marshall can't have invented it, huh?
It doesn't fit in with her ladyship's theory.
Happens to all. I didn't tell her that we found him.
You haven't collared Beamish?
He must be getting short of money, though, Commissioner.
Everything points to him.
A mental case, obviously.
Now get Beamish, and there'll be no more threats or attacks on the judge. That's my theory, Inspector. Usual place, Nellie.
Pleasure, Mr. Pettigrew.
I say, isn't it? It is. Francis Pettigrew.
Derek.
I haven't seen you for ages.
Not since Markshire Assize is finished.
Must be a couple of months.
I've got a job, Ministry of Contracts.
No further threats to Father William?
You were here before me. The solicitors for that pianist wrote the other day, wanting a statement. I ignored it.
Give the same statement to both sides. That's what I did. But the case will never get to court. It'll be settled pro bono publico.
It's all wrong, Francis. My fiancé's father, George Bartram, is being prosecuted for knocking somebody down. But Mr. Justice Barber got off scot-free.
Father William isn't exactly getting off scot-free. And not according to what I hear.
Thank you for coming to see me, Judge.
No trouble at all, Lord Chancellor.
How is your health?
My health?
You've not been well.
Well, I've had certain problems, but my health...
Judge, what are the prospects of that civil claim being settled quickly?
Very slight, I'm afraid, sir.
Public confidence in our judges is essential.
Yes, I entirely agree, Lord Chancellor.
So bad.
But I would like to say...
If the claim arrives at court or the press get hold of it in some other way, then I'm afraid there'll be no alternative.
Resignation?
The judiciary as a whole, that's my concern.
To resign now, in the middle of the legal year, would be...
Well?
A public confession of misconduct.
That's why I asked about your health.
I see. But my pension...
A proportionate one. But you'd have to wait till you're 65... I think so.
Lord Chancellor, that would be disastrous. Just give me time, please.
Well, let me see. It is now March. Provided no writ is issued, I'm prepared to wait until the end of the long vacation. If by that time the Sebald Smith affair is dead and buried, all well and good.
Dr. Fairmile, who is it?
Hilda Barber. My husband, he's been taken ill. I've just come home and found him. I know it's late.
You say ill, Lady Barber.
An overdose. Accidental. Sleeping tablets. Luminal.
Is he unconscious?
Not quite, Doctor.
Keep Sir William awake.
Right.
How many has he taken?
The bottle's empty, but how
Try to make him sick. Salt water and a spoon down his throat. And I'll be there in about 10 minutes.
It's a great relief, Doctor.
Lucky you rang me immediately.
It is very careless of him.
I'm afraid... Sorry, Lady Barber, but I shall have to report this.
Report?
Afraid so.
The police?
My duty. On your piano is a letter. It's addressed to the coroner. But they will be very discreet. Incidentally, the sooner Sir William gets back to work, the better.
He's sitting at the Old Bailey on Monday.
He won't be driving.
No, we're hiring a car with a driver.
You had a letter from your brother this morning, Hilda?
Yes. Sebald Smith has made a final offer. It's the same as the last one. We have until the day after tomorrow to accept it, or they issue a writ.
Then this will be the last Old Bailey sessions I shall ever attend. I shall send in my resignation at the end of the week.
Ah, we're here.
Isn't that man on the pavement?
Beamish.
Excuse me, my lord. Excuse me. Would your lordship allow me to...
No, Beamish.
Just a few words?
Certainly not.
I have nothing to say to you, Beamish.
Oh.
Cheek of the man.
Members of the jury, do you find George Bartram guilty or not guilty of dangerous driving?
We find him not guilty.
And that is the verdict of you all?
It is.
There is, however, the other indictment to which Bartram pleaded guilty, driving a motor car without valid insurance. George Bartram, this is a very serious matter. A motor car is a dangerous weapon. Innocent people can suffer by it, and that is why Parliament has made insurance cover compulsory. You will be fined £50 and go to prison for 3 months.
You'll feel better when you've had a cup of tea, Sheila.
Daddy. He'll never stand it, Derek. 3 months.
A monstrous sentence. I haven't told a soul about it till now, but when I was his marshal, he did exactly the same thing himself. Knocked somebody down when he wasn't insured. It was covered up.
Derek, I must go.
Where?
If anything's to be done, I must do it myself. Love me, Derek, whatever happens.
You're welcome to stay here in Mr. Pettigrew's room and wait for him, Mr...
Marshal.
Yeah, but I can't be sure when he'll be back from court, Mr. Marshal. He's across at the law courts doing a civil.
I shall have to go in a quarter of an hour. I've got to be at the Old Bailey at 4 o'clock.
Do stop pushing, please! Please!
Stand back! We don't want to plead out Trojan.
The judge and Lady Barbara will be coming out any minute.
We don't want to arrest anybody. If you don't clear a path for his lordship... Hey, you! Stop pushing!
I want to get to the front!
You can't!
I must!
If you don't stop... Hey, what's your name then? What is your name?
Beamish!
I'll have you inside the baby, Mr. Beamish, if you won't let his lordship out.
You, madam, stand back!
I want to see the judge!
Nobody can see him.
Look at him!
You can look at him in court.
I did. He sentenced my father.
Who are you?
Sheila Bartram.
Well, you better not start anything.
He's a beast.
I warned you.
Hello, Mr. Pettigrew. Are you trying to get through, sir?
I'm looking for someone, officer. There he is. Derek. Derek Marshall. Now, wait. Don't do it. I know how you feel, but don't. The judge, he's coming out.
Make way for his lordship and Lady Barber. Let them get to the car, please.
My lord, I must insist.
Beamish.
Listen to me, you beast.
What you trying to do, madam? Keep your hands down.
Touch me. Get off me.
I can't get through, officer. They're in my way. Make way for his lordship, please. This is disorderly conduct. Keep behind me, Hilda. Officer, if you can't manage to... Ah! Ah!
He's fallen.
Oh, there's a knife in his back.
Mallet, the city police have handed the murder over to us.
I thought they would, Commissioner.
Having regard to all the ramifications, now here's their file.
And I want you to drop everything.
The murder weapon, Commissioner. There's been some talk...
well, the knife was an exhibit in a murder the judge tried at Rambleford Assizes.
Yes, but how did it...
It went missing at the end of the case. The persons who could have taken it include the judge himself, his wife, his marshal, his then clerk, a man called Beamish, and Mr. Francis Pettigrew.
The barrister?
Yes, he was in the case. He also happened to be outside the Bailey at the time of the murder, as were the marshal and his fiancée, Miss Sheila Bartram. Beamish, the marshal, and Miss Bartram were arrested for disorderly conduct. The marshal's statement is here at the top of the file.
Well, yes. I killed Mr. Justice Barber. Well, it was for his outrageous conduct at the Old Bailey today. I got a knife and went to the judge's entrance. I saw my fiancée, Miss Sheila Bartram, trying to speak to him. He was grabbed by a constable and manhandled. That made me lose my head. I stabbed the judge between the shoulder blades. Miss Bartram had nothing whatever to do with the judge's death. I decline to say where I obtained the knife. Well...
He's trying to keep Miss Bartram out of it.
Does Marshall know where the knife did come from?
Nobody knew when he made his statement.
Any fingerprints, Commissioner?
Not clear enough. Oh, by the way, you can rule Beamish out. None of the statements put him near to the judge.
Beamish is a first-class darts player.
Oh, well, I withdraw what I said.
Mr. Pettigrew has given a statement, I see.
Not very informative.
Well, I shall go and interview Mr. Francis Pettigrew myself.
Ask me anything you like, Inspector.
Why were you outside the Old Bailey, Mr. Pettigrew?
Why do you ask?
You had no brief there.
True.
I must insist, sir.
And I must insist on my right to remain silent.
You remember the Oakenhurst murder?
Vividly.
The knife that killed Mr. Justice Barber was the one from that trial.
No. Really?
You were looked for afterwards to see if you'd taken the knife by mistake.
I remember going for a walk. I wanted to walk off my temper.
Temper with the judge?
I will answer that one, yes. He had it in for my client from the start, and for me.
Did you take that knife, Mr. Pettigrew?
I did not, Inspector.
Mr. Derek Marshall came to this room on the afternoon of the murder and waited for you.
True.
Then he went to the Bailey.
I saw him there.
He has confessed to the murder.
Oh. Poor wretched boy, that's too bad. They'll hang him. Oh, dear. But I can answer that question now. I went to the Bailey because I had a suspicion Derek might do something silly. He told me some time ago about the Bartram case, and at lunch in the temple I heard something that Barber was behaving very badly towards Bartram. And then my clerk told me that Derek Marshall had been anxious to see me. I felt extremely worried, so I took a taxi and dashed to the Bailey. I was just too late.
Today, Marshall was shown the knife. He withdrew his confession.
Oh. Have you been making a fool of me, Mr. Mallet?
I wanted to know why you were there when it happened.
Why did Marshall make that statement?
To shield Miss Bartram.
You thought she'd done it?
I believe so.
Typically gallant of the young man.
Lady Barber thinks all the things that happened on the circuit were connected, including the motor accident on the 12th of October, 1939.
How precise your detectives are.
Have to be.
I'd forgotten the date. You know, do you, that the judge was under pressure to resign?
And attempted suicide. Lady Barber saved his life.
Yes. How could any woman be married to Father William all those years and want to save his life? But I doubt if I can help you further, Mr. Mallet. I could give you a list of people who disliked Barber, a long list.
If you give me the name of any other person with a motive for killing him on the 12th of April, 1940, I'll be quite satisfied.
12th of April? Yes. So it was. Now, this is interesting. Very interesting, Inspector.
Sorry to disturb you, Francis. Delighted to see you, my dear fellow.
This is Sheila, my fiancée, Francis Pettigrew.
How do you do?
How do you do?
We've come from the magistrates. They've remanded Beamish for 7 days.
For disorderly conduct?
There was talk of a more serious charge.
Oh, no. Beamish wouldn't have the guts.
I agree.
And what did the magistrates do to you two?
The disorderly charges were dropped.
Oh, splendid.
It wouldn't have looked good for a member of the bar to...
Or a nurse.
Has someone been showing favouritism?
No, no.
Bad for the ideals, that, Derek. Oh, excuse me. Yes. Rudy says here? Oh, then show him in. Inspector Mallet. He was here yesterday. I must be top of the suspect list.
Sheila and I ought to go.
Oh, no. You're both involved, if you see what I mean. Come in. Come in, Inspector.
Sorry to intrude again, sir. But I have to inform you that Lady Barber threw herself under a train this morning.
No!
Good God.
And
A
she's...
note was found in her handbag, Mr. Pettigrew. Is this your writing?
Yes. Yes, so I am responsible for her death.
It was this note that made her do away with herself, wasn't it?
I love that woman. Yes, it was. It's cryptic to the layman, but to the point.
What does the note mean?
Well, tell us all you know first, Inspector, in confidence.
Well, when I came into this case, I thought more than one person was involved. The chocolates didn't fit with the rest. The first 2 letters came from Heppenstall, I felt sure. But he didn't assault Lady Barber.
Then who?
Beamish. He was making his way back to bed after being, elsewhere. His moral character. He panicked when he bumped into Lady Barber.
The chocolates, though?
Sally Parsons. The fall downstairs and the gas incident looked like attempts on the judge's life, but in both cases, Lady Barber was there to save him before witnesses.
Inspector, are you saying that Lady Barber was the murderer?
First, she was genuinely trying to protect her husband. Then, the sham attacks was a turning point between the two phases. The dead mouse.
The mouse? Turning point?
Till then, there'd been hope of settling Sybil Smith's claim reasonably, but the mouse indicated Sally Parsons would never allow it.
The sham attacks?
To divert suspicion.
Why did she kill her husband?
Whoever killed the judge not only showed daring, but urgency.
Lady Barber was just behind the judge.
The motive is somewhat technical. Our legal department tried to explain it to me.
The date gives the key. The murder was exactly 6 months after the motor accident, to the day.
Well, so?
Well, the answer is in subsection 3 of section 1 of the Law Reform Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1934. Now, put into non-technical language, it amounts to this. You can maintain an action against the chap for running you down, even if he's dead. But to do so, you must fulfill one of 2 conditions. Either you can start your action while he's still alive, in which case John Brown's body can moulder in the grave. But your case goes marching along, and you can cash in on the executors. Or you can start your action with John Brown already mouldering. But in that case, you have only got 6 months to do it in, accounting from the time his car hit you. If you choose to spend 6 months palavering about the rights and wrongs of your case before you kick off and the man dies on you, then your action descends into the grave and moulders also. And serve you right.
And that's what happened in this case?
That is what happened in this case. And it happened because Hilda, God rest her soul, meant it to happen. She was a lawyer, you see. And it so chanced that her pet study was what is known as the limitation of actions, a subject I used to think dull, but never will again. She knew that Sybil Smith's action would ruin her husband completely if it was fought. She knew also that if he died, she would be ruined by it just the same. So she set herself to keep him alive, and the plaintiff's solicitors at bay until the 6 months were up. And that was why she had to stop him from committing suicide last month. And that was why, the moment the period had gone by, she had to kill him before the writ could be issued.
Goodness. What about your note, Mr. Pettigrew? 1938 2KB 203.
Yes.
What does it mean?
Yes. It's a reference to the case of Daniels versus Vaux. The facts were similar to these. The defendant died 6 months after the accident. No writ had been issued, so the plaintiff got nothing.
So when she read the note, Lady Barber realised you knew everything.
Yes. Yes, this must be the first time anyone has been driven to suicide. By a quotation from the law reports.
Tragedy at Law was dramatised for radio by James Pickles, from the novel by Cyril Hare, with Benjamin Whitrow as Mr. Justice Barber and June Barry as Hilda Barber. The rest of the cast was as follows: Francis Pettigrew, Hayden Jones; Marshall, Paul Wills; Beamish, Timothy Bateson; Inspector Mallet and Martin Flack, William Edel. The High Sheriff and Sebald Smith, John Lindstrom; the Lord Chancellor, Conrad Phillips; Chief Constable, John Abineri; the Commissioner, Rex Holdsworth; Sheila Bartram, Moya Leslie; Michael and Dr. Fairmile, Michael Jenner; and Mrs. Habberton, Ellen Mackintosh. Other parts were played by William Edel, Rex Holdsworth, Michael Jenner, Moya Leslie, John Lindstrom, Ellen Mackintosh and Conrad Phillips. The play was directed in Bristol by Brian Miller.